It's 1 o'clock with your BBC News. I'm Rachel Sweeney. 14 children aged between 11 and 14 have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter after a boy died in a fire in Gateshead. The incident happened on Friday evening, as Charlotte Simpson reports.
Northumbria police say they were called to reports of a fire near an industrial park at around 8 o'clock on Friday night. After it had been put out, officers issued an appeal for a missing boy, Leighton Carr, who was believed to be in the area at the time. A body, believed to be that of the 14-year-old, was later found inside the building. 11 boys and 3 girls aged between 14 and 11 years old have since been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter and are being held in police custody.
Police are questioning 8 men arrested in 2 separate counter-terrorism operations across England. 5 people, 4 Iranian, were detained yesterday on suspicion of preparing a terrorist act after a suspected plot against a single undisclosed location. Separately, 3 other Iranian men have been arrested by counter-terrorism police in London. Our correspondent Simon Jones says officers have asked the public to keep themselves on the lookout.
The police say news of these arrests, 8 in total, relating to these 2 incidents, these 2 investigations, will be of concern to the public, but they're advising the public to remain vigilant, to report anything suspicious.
In Gateshead, the iconic Dunstan Staithes cannot open to the public as planned because of decay and damage. The Grade 2 listed structure was supposed to open yesterday, but safety inspections found it just can't happen. Carrie Vickers is from the Tyne and Weir Building Preservation Trust.
Reaction's been very sympathetic. People get it. They know we've been working hard over this past decade to reopen the structure. It's been through a lot. There's a few times in the past when we could have lost the structure, and people want to see it open, but they want to see it cared for.
Men in Wearside are being encouraged to attend a support group to help blokes, they say, open up. Andy's Man Club are set to hold 2 more weekly sessions in Hauntley Spring and Gilesgate. Weekly sessions at the Beacon of Light in Sunderland can average 40 men. Michael Chaplow is from the charity.
I believe it was in 2017 that one opened, and a few years later we got our second one open up in here in Sunderland itself. And now there's 16 groups in the whole of the North East, and as of May 2025 there'll be 18 groups in the North East, and hopefully a lot more to come.
Sport now. Newcastle's quest for Champions League football continues when they face Brighton in the South Coast. Eddie Howe's team are 4th in the Premier League and must finish in the top 5 to qualify for European football's top competition. Their fate is in their hands.
That's absolutely where you want to be. You want to be in control of your destiny, and I think with 4 games to go we are, but we're very aware that it can change in one round of games, so there's no let up for us. I think keeping absolute focus. Tough fixtures to come, none more so than this first game, but we believe in the team.
Build-up starts in just a minute. First though, cricket. It's day 3 of Durham's County Championship match against Hampshire. Martin Emerson can bring us the latest live. Martin.
Yeah, lunch here on day 3. Hampshire are currently 216 for 4, so they trailed Durham by 295. They lost 3 wickets this morning. Mark Stoneman caught behind of Maddie Potts for 57. Tom Press caught behind of Callum Parkinson for 1, and then Nick Gubbins caught behind of George Drizzell for 77. So Durham taking wickets this morning. They need more this afternoon.
We've got some road closures due to the Newcastle Gateshead Marathon. Roads between Gateshead International Stadium to Pipwell Gate on the Gateshead side, and from the Swing Bridge along the waterfront near the arena on the Newcastle side. More than 3,000 people are taking part in the Newcastle Gateshead Marathon today. And that's your latest BBC Radio Newcastle news. For an update anytime, ask your smart speaker to play BBC News for the North East.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Newcastle with the pressure. Oh, surely a penalty. They want a penalty. Bruno's through ball. Murphy says he was pulled down. If that's not a penalty, why is he not booking him? The referee's going to go to the monitor. Penalty. We're ready now. Isak to the back of the box, hands on hips. Goalkeeper moving along his line. Isak comes forward and it's into the net. Low down from Isak to the goalkeeper's left. On to Murphy again, then Trippier. Here's the cross, hung up to the back post. Dan Burn heads in from Trippier's cross, and the second goal has arrived in the 56th minute. Lifts it in, Burn looking for it. Osula! William Osula! That's a great goal. Osula gets up to head in his first in the Premier League. Osula, to the delight of St James's Park, makes it Newcastle A comfortable victory in response to the Villa defeat to keep them in a Champions League place. The run-in, though, looks tricky, and it starts at Brighton, where they've never won in the Premier League, and against a team that's already beaten them twice this season.
I do think there can be sometimes strange results and reoccurring strange results within the club's fortunes. It happens where you come up against an opponent that you don't tend to go up against them very well, but I don't think that's necessarily the case here. I think the 2 games we've had against Brighton this season, I think it could easily have gone our way, especially the first game. Maybe not so much the FA Cup game. I don't think we were particularly great that day, but I think every game in isolation is a very different game, and this one will be. It'll be a very tough game for us. They're a very good team. They've got dangerous wide players, but we back ourselves against anybody, and we'll certainly go there for the confidence.
Well, Brighton may be their bogey team, but if they can get another 3 points this afternoon, Newcastle United, they will go back up to 3rd in the Premier League table. So there is a big reward for ending their long wait for a victory at the Amex Stadium. And not only would they be 3rd in the table with the win, they'd only be 2 points behind Arsenal, who are 2nd after their defeat yesterday. And actually, John Anderson, looking at the fixtures and the standings, Newcastle win all 4 matches between now and the end of the season, they'll finish 2nd. So
that's a little bit like before we played Villa. If they won all their games, they could win the Premier League.
That didn't happen, obviously, and it was never going to happen.
Well,
it was just a mathematical possibility.
Let's take one game at a time and see where it ends up. But yeah, look at the Arsenal game, and the result yesterday most definitely helped. I thought Bournemouth were excellent. Obviously, we've seen them this season. They played really well at St James's, and they played well at the Emirates yesterday. They deserved to win the game. But yeah, it's getting really tight at the top. You know, it's getting nervy, isn't it? You know, 4 big games starting here somewhere where we usually don't do well. A record here isn't great, but you know, these records have got to come to an end at some stage. And Brighton have been a little bit up and down. I know they won here the last home game. They got 2 late goals to beat West Ham, but I mean, prior to that they've been in and out. So yeah, as we heard Eddie Howe just say there, back ourselves against anybody on the day.
It's an unchanged Newcastle United 11. There is an alteration to the squad in terms of substitutes. Teenage striker Sean Neve returns to the bench in place of John Ruddy, the goalkeeper, who was a substitute last weekend. Ruddy is with the squad as an extra player, an extra goalkeeper, taking part in the warm-up in front of us. But Newcastle: Pope, Trippier, Schär, Byrne, Livramento, Bruno, Tonali, Willock, Murphy, Isak and Barnes. And then the bench: Dubravka, Botman, Wilson, Gordon, Kraft, Osula, Longstaff, Miley and Neve. I think if there was going to be a change to the team based on selection decisions or form or something like that, rather than an injury, it might have come in midfield. But Joe Willock continues in the Joe Linton position, in the role at the left side of central midfield, and it seems as though Willock is going to get a run in the team at the end of the season, with Joe Linton unlikely to play again before the summer.
He's been unlucky this season with injuries. You know, he hasn't been able to get a sustained run in the side. We know what the midfield 3 is. You know, it basically picks itself with the 2 Brazilians and Tonali in there. But Joe Willock came in last week. He needs a run of games. You know, he hasn't had a run of games. He did okay last week, you know, but I thought Miley might have got the shout, but Eddie Howe's gone with the more experienced Willock, and he keeps his place again today. But it's another opportunity for him. As I say, he needs to get games under his belt, because he's an athletic type player. Pace, he gets you up, good carrier of the ball, you know, carries you up the pitch, gets you up the pitch quick. and he gets another opportunity today. So yeah, as I say, he's been very unlucky and very unfortunate with injuries this season and hasn't been able to get that sustained run of games that he really needed.
You listen to BBC Radio Newcastle live from Brighton's American Express Stadium, the Amex Stadium for short. Coming to you from the south coast on what started off as a lovely morning with warm sunshine in Brighton on the seafront. Lots of people out early walking, some joggers, people on the beach, but we've come 4 miles up north away from the coast to the village of Falmer, where the stadium is. There's a train from Brighton, the central station, that takes about 10 minutes to bring you right outside the Amex Stadium, and it's well, it doesn't feel like an early summer's day, does it? The winds have picked up. It's cloudy above us. It's really chilly.
It is. Actually. It's gone really cold, yeah.
And a lot of supporters travelled, obviously, in t-shirts. Some of them in shorts. I hope they've brought a jacket because
the temperatures have definitely dropped.
But it was beautiful by the coast last night. Yesterday, glorious sunshine, and this morning. But inland, quite a bit cooler and cloudier. 2 o'clock kickoff, and we'll be live on BBC Radio Newcastle as usual. Lots of ways to listen to us, either on 95.4 FM, DAB, or through Freeview. You can listen to our radio commentary on Freeview channel 711, which is where you can listen to all BBC Radio Newcastle programmes. We're also today on the BBC Sounds app, so if you're going to be on the move, or you're just at home but you've got your phone on you, then go into the BBC Radio Newcastle page. At the top of the BBC Sounds app, you might have to scroll along to find us, and you can listen to the Newcastle United angle on the game through BBC Sounds. And if you know someone who is outside of the northeast but would like to listen and get the Newcastle perspective today, then anywhere in the world, listen on BBC Sounds Live, or if you have a smart speaker, just ask it to play BBC Radio Newcastle. So United are unchanged, and Brighton have made 2 changes to their team. They are without a few key players today, including João Pedro, the striker, who is serving a suspension following a red card a couple of matches ago. There's also no Kaoru Mitoma, the Japanese winger, who is one of their star players. Actually, Mitoma and João Pedro are joint top scorers with 10, along with Danny Welbeck, who does play, and Solly March, the winger, is also absent for Brighton this afternoon. The 2 changes are Jan-Paul van Hecke, the centre-back, who missed the last game with concussion. He returns, and Yankuba Minte is brought back into the starting 11 as well. Minte, who conceded a penalty and then scored the equaliser at St James's in the FA Cup tie 2 months ago against the club that he signed for but didn't play for, Newcastle United. It's had a decent season for Brighton, Yankuba Minte, and he starts today. Their team, Bart Verbruggen in goal, Mats Wiefer, who is a midfielder but is filling in at right back because they've had some injuries recently, though a lot of those defenders are now back in the squad and on the bench. Lewis Dunk, Jan-Paul van Hecke and Pervis Estupiñán at left back. That's the Brighton defence. In midfield, Carlos Baleba, who'd been playing at centre-back but moves back into midfield, and he will be alongside Jack Hinshelwood. Yankuba Minte on the right, Simon Adingra on the left, Matt O'Reilly, the Danish international that was signed from Celtic last summer, will play in the hole behind Danny Welbeck, who got the winner in the FA Cup tie and also the winner at St James's in the Premier League. He loves playing against Newcastle, doesn't he? 34-year-old Danny Welbeck.
Had a very good career, hasn't he? Good player. You know, he's used all his experience. He's showed his experience in the game at St James's as well, and he's one you got to keep an eye on. To be fair, you know, even though he's in the twilight of his career, he can still cause you problems.
Brighton's bench: Jason Steele, the goalkeeper formerly of Sunderland, but has gone on to have a very good career at Brighton, and no longer first choice. They'd changed the goalkeepers with some regularity over the last couple of years, but Verbruggen is the number one now for Fabian Hutzler's side. Tariq Lamptey, Igor Julio, Adam Webster, Brian Gruder, Diego Gomez, Yassin Ayari, who is one of the two that drops out of the team today, along with Solly March, who is not in the squad. Joel Veltman, the Dutch defender, also on the bench. I mean, they've got defenders there, Ando, but they've gone with a midfielder at full-back, which is interesting. I suppose it's consistency.
They obviously feel that they're not up to match fitness at this moment in time. That's the reason they're on the bench. They want to make sure that players coming back from injuries, one or two of them on that bench have been out quite a while as well, so don't want to rush them back, want to make sure that they're 100% before they try and get 90 minutes into them.
And the other player on the bench for Brighton, 17-year-old midfielder Harry Howell. That's how the two teams look. Just the goalkeepers warming up at the moment in both Brighton blue and Newcastle black and white training kit. Newcastle have the end or the half to the right hand side, which is where the away end is. The two stands behind the goals are single tiered, but there is a wall at the back of them, so they don't go back like a normal stand would all the way to the top, to the roof. But above the Newcastle section there are a couple of hospitality boxes and a giant screen. They've got 3,000 away supporters here. Ground holds about 32,000. It is probably a good away section in that you are right behind the goal, low down, close to the action, and it feels quite compact, doesn't it? We sit low down, we are just a couple of metres away from the mouth of the players' tunnel behind the Newcastle bench. We'll hear a bit from Eddie Howe later on coming to Brighton. He likes it because the fans feel, especially the away fans, feel involved in the game because of the location of the away end and its proximity to the pitch.
Yeah, they get a good view, don't they? It's not as if you're up in the gods and everybody looks minute, all the players look minute. You get to see a real good vision of the game. There's about, I don't know what, 50 rows would it be, maybe, and that's it. So yeah, everybody's right on top of it. Nice stadium, I mean, compact stadium, good atmosphere in it as well. They make a little bit of noise, but it'd be interesting to see if it's full today as well, Mike, because the last few times I've seen Brighton on TV, when they've been here, this stadium hasn't been full.
Newcastle United with Pope, Trippier, Schär, Byrne, Livramento, Bruno, Tanali, Willock, Murphy, Isak and Barnes as an unchanged starting 11, and a bench of Dubravka, Botman, Wilson, Gordon, Kraft, Osula, Longstaff, Miley and Neve in that starting 11. Facing one of his former clubs today, Big Dan Byrne, who got his first Premier League goal of the campaign last weekend in the victory over Ipswich with a header from pretty much the goal line from Kieran Trippier cross.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing you can guarantee with Trippsy's assists that he provides and the crosses that he puts in are perfect. I sort of read it well. Didn't really have to do much, just had to get contact on it, so I was happy. I think it's been a long time coming, that sort of first Premier League goal of the season. I've always said I should score a lot more, but yeah, happy to get it.
And lastly, it's set up for a big game. You'll go back to your old club Brighton. Newcastle's record there is not great, but you know everything's in your hands at this stage.
Yeah, and I think that's the good thing. We're in a good position. I think all the teams are picking up results round with, but so are we. I feel like we've got good momentum, but it'd be nice to sort of go down there and put on a good performance and get a result, because I feel like they've sort of had one number the last few times we've been down there. Haven't really performed well, but it's the business end of the season, and I said good teams go there and pick up a result, so hopefully we do.
Total Sport North East.
On the station with Newcastle and Sunderland commentary exclusively live.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Dan Byrne there, who obviously knows a lot about the way that Brighton play and have approached games, and he's played in some of them against Newcastle United. I'll come to that in a second, Ando, but Byrne and Schär at centre-back, Botman on the bench. Eddie Howe described last week Sven Botman's return at this stage following knee surgery as a bonus. I would have been surprised to see Botman come in and start, especially with a lot at stake for Newcastle, given his probably almost a year and a half of on and off knee injuries. Dan Burn's had a terrific season, but probably long term, who plays in central defence with Newcastle, I'm sure they're going to at least attempt to sign somebody in the summer. We know that. It may well be 2 positions up for grabs next season, but at the minute, Burn and Cher are going to continue together.
Yeah, the 2 of them together, individually and collectively, have had exceptional seasons. We know there's a lack of pace in there. It got shown up at Villa, but there hasn't been many games this season where sides have got the better of them. And you're right. Look, it's a bonus to have Botman back. Do you need to rush him? No, not the way the 2 boys are playing at the moment, but it will be interesting come the start of the next season, because look, when this season finishes, everybody starts anew, everybody starts afresh. Depends on who performs in pre-season games and one thing and another, but to have Botman back is a bonus, because for me he's the best centre-back that we've got.
And on Dan Burn's point there about Brighton getting the better of Newcastle, particularly here at the Amex Stadium, where this is the 8th Premier League trip to this ground. Newcastle in the previous 7, 4 draws, 3 defeats, but the only win in 10 here was in the Championship, and it was a crucial one on the way to pipping Brighton to the title. They've had problems with Brighton home and away, but especially in the away fixtures. Players change, managers change, but Brighton have a way of playing that hasn't really shifted too much, and various Newcastle teams have really struggled, haven't they? Do you have any thoughts about why that is, why it's been a long-term problem?
I think over the years there's always a side that, is your nemesis, so to speak, a side that you struggle against on a regular basis. I think every side has that. Brighton, for one reason or another, seems to be ours. And you wonder why, because they're not over physical. They don't go and they bully you and they kick you and one thing and another. They're a good footballing side. They play it through midfield. So it's a difficult one to put your finger on, but these things, they've got a habit of, they've got to change somewhere along the line. And I know our record here hasn't been great. We've only won that 1 game, as you said, in the Championship, but that's got to change at some time, and there's no reason in the world why it shouldn't be today.
Newcastle's 11, same as it was last week for the win over Ipswich. Brighton have made 2 changes, Jan-Paul van Hecker at centre-back and Yankuba Minte on the right wing, replacing Yassin Ayari, who's on the bench, and Solly March, who misses out. But there's no Karu Mitoma, which will be a blow for Brighton, and still without a few players, including João Pedro, the Brazilian striker, someone Newcastle tried to sign, and it looked like they were going to get him at one point, but he ended up moving to Brighton from Watford in the end. On the position in the table that Newcastle find themselves in, looking to again really strengthen their hold on a Champions League place, and if they can move back up to 3rd, which only a win would do today for them, then that will be a huge boost going into Chelsea next weekend. Chelsea, one of the teams who are trying to finish in the top 5. But there's also a situation with Brighton, who are 9th as it stands. They're 9 points away from the top 5, and you'd think the Champions League is beyond them, but they could finish 8th. There's a very good chance that they will finish 8th, ahead of Bournemouth, who are there currently. In fact, Brighton down to 10, after yesterday's results. Fulham in 9th and Brentford in 11th. It would suit Brighton for Newcastle to finish top 5, maybe top 6, because if Newcastle do that and qualify for Europe through their league position, the Conference League place that Newcastle have already acquired and collected through winning at Wembley in the League Cup, will be passed down the league to the next team that hasn't already reached Europe. So in a funny sort of way, Newcastle, I don't mean today, but it wouldn't be the worst thing for Brighton's European aspirations if Newcastle won this, because it would help ensure that that Conference League place will go to somebody else, potentially Brighton.
Yeah, they won't be looking at that though. All they'll be thinking about today is winning this football match, or trying to win this football match. You know, they won't be thinking, oh well, if Newcastle win here today, obviously it helps us along the way towards Europe. They won't be thinking of that at all. But it's just about going out and trying to win games. You know, look at every game between now and the end of the season's cup final. The difficult ones as well, starting here today, and obviously got Chelsea, as we already mentioned, next week. Then Arsenal and Everton on the final day. It's getting really, really tight. You know, Villa won again yesterday. Obviously Arsenal came unstuck. Chelsea play Liverpool today. You know, so Forest play tomorrow night. So you know, it's all to play for. Forest obviously got beaten on Thursday night by Brentford, and deserved to be beaten by Brentford. They were really poor Forest. But all you can do, you know, you can look at things and you can look at teams, but all you really want to do is just concentrate on yourself. You know, just win your games. You win your games, and if you win your games, obviously, yeah, of course you need somebody to do you a good turn along the way. But first and foremost, we win our games, and come the end of 38 games, see exactly where we are.
Newcastle's players have taken to the pitch now. They've started their warm-ups, jogging from one touchline on the near side to the far side, back across, and now they gather together in the penalty area for some stretches. The balls are out, and very soon they will be part of the pre-match preparations. We're live on BBC Radio Newcastle and the BBC Sounds app. Brighton and Hove Albion against Newcastle United from 2. A little bit more from Eddie Howe now before we take a look at the rest of the day's sports news and sports fixtures in football, a bit of rugby league and some cricket as well, with Durham in action at Hampshire in the county championship, because while the team is unchanged, Anthony Gordon is again a substitute, and since coming back from a ban for the red card he picked up against Brighton 2 months ago in the FA Cup, and then an injury, he is continuing to wait for a start.
Anthony's a very, very strong character. Yes, every player needs support. Every player needs a good environment to work in and needs to feel confident in that environment. I'd say maybe some players need more communication and direct dialogue more than others. Anthony's one that maybe, because of his strength of character, because of his strong belief in himself, maybe needs slightly less. But I'm sure this has been a difficult period for him, because I think any time you're out and you're missing games, especially when you're fit and available to play, which he was initially, is a huge frustration. It's bittersweet because you're seeing the team do well without you, which is great, but of course you want to be there yourself contributing. I think all he can do is focus on himself and his game and make sure he's at the very, very best physical levels and technical and tactical levels. And then with his ability and his quality, he can make a difference for us.
Anthony Gordon on a bench with Callum Wilson and Sven Botman, so a couple of other big Newcastle players, and there are others on there who have been introduced and contributed as well. But Jacob Murphy on the right, Harvey Barnes on the left, both up for the Premier League Player of the Month award. They've been terrific recently, and they deserve to keep playing. So Anthony Gordon may have to keep waiting, John Angus.
Yeah, he will. Look at, you know, Barnes had to wait a long time to get his opportunity. You know, it wasn't his fault. I've said this a couple of times, that Gordon went and got himself sent off, but it gave him the opportunity. And he hasn't had too many opportunities. He knew he was going to get a run of games. It was up to him to try and grab that spot, and that's exactly what he's done. He's come in, he's played well, he scored goals. Gordon came free of suspension, but it was difficult to get back in. He won't be happy, you know, he won't be happy because he will want to be playing, but it's difficult at this moment in time to see where he's going to get back into that side. And the one thing, I think Barnes carries a bigger goal threat as well. You know, I think you always feel Barnes has a goal in him, and he's a better finisher than Gordon. You know, he's a little bit cooler in front of goal than Gordon is. But look, frustrating for Anthony Gordon, of course it is, because he wants to play, but he's just going to have to wait his turn.
Newcastle, Pope, Trippier, Cher, Byrne, Livramento, Bruno, Tonali, Willock, Murphy, Isak, Barnes. An unchanged team, and it's largely the same players that have taken them on this really good run just before Wembley and since the cup final that play again. Willock continues in midfield in the absence of Joelinton. More build-up from the Amex Stadium here on BBC Radio Newcastle, including some more thoughts from Magpies boss Eddie Howe ahead of kick-off and commentary at 2 on BBC Radio Newcastle and the BBC Sounds app. But now let's take a look at the rest of the day's sport. Here with all the details is Colin White.
Matthew Racebeck, thank you very much indeed. I'm actually going to start by telling you of the other Premier League scores from across the weekend, but a little bit of context into Newcastle United's game, because it's been a long Premier League weekend. Started on Friday night when Manchester City beat Wolves 1-0 thanks to Kevin De Bruyne. Yesterday Aston Villa beat Fulham 1-0 thanks to Yuri Tielemans, and then Arsenal lost 2-1 at home to Bournemouth. Evan Nielsen and defender Dean Howson getting Bournemouth back. They were 1-0 down at half-time through Declan Rice. Today, later on, Chelsea-Liverpool is at 4:30. And then tomorrow night, Nottingham Forest, who played on Thursday, are at Crystal Palace. Today, it is the final weekend of the Women's Championship as well. In terms of promotion and relegation, nothing riding on the 3 games involving our teams, but it could still dictate where they finish in the league. Durham at home to Bristol City, Sunderland at the Stadium of Light at home to Sheffield United, and Newcastle United on the road at Blackburn. It's their first season in the Championship. It's been a pretty successful one overall. Here are defender Deanna Cooper and midfielder Beth Lumsden.
Yeah, I think we've had a really good April. Obviously, we've been unbeaten in April, and we've played 3 teams that are above us and got 3 draws, which is fantastic results for us. And then obviously we have Blackburn as well. So it's been a really good run into this final game, and we're looking forward to finishing the season on a high.
We're obviously there on Sunday to get the 3 points like we have been every other game. We've prepared the same, and we're there to go and win the game and hopefully finish on a high.
Hopefully finish on a high indeed. Birmingham against London City Lionesses is the title decider in the Championship today. Whoever wins that wins the league. It's as simple as that. And there's only one promotion place up to the Women's Super League. It's actually the penultimate day of the Women's Super League today as well. A couple of games that have started already. Everton, it's Derby Day as well. Everton 2-0 up at Liverpool, and Manchester City 2-1 up at Manchester United. Both of those roughly halfway through the second half. Chelsea already crowned champions there away at Spurs at 2:15. Sunderland's men have now lost 5 games in a row after yesterday's 1-0 defeat to Queen's Park Rangers at the Stadium of Light. They've also failed to score in any of the last 3 matches. It's 1 goal in their last 6 matches. Head coach Régis Lebris says they have to do better.
We have a good squad able to react, to find powerful resources to be competitive in this game. So another chapter to open and full week. Now we know our opponent, so just move forward, keep going.
Simple as that. Sunderland will now face Coventry City in the playoff semi-finals, a team they haven't beaten in the last 10 attempts, and they haven't beaten them away from home in 40 years. Friday night would be a good time to start. That's when the first leg of the playoff semi-final takes place. 8 o'clock kickoff live, of course, on BBC Radio Newcastle. It's been a heck of a non-league weekend as well. It hasn't finished yet. On Friday night in the Northern League First Division playoff final, Newcastle Blue Star against Blythe Town. One of them was guaranteed a second consecutive promotion. Blythe Town it was, who won it on penalties. A Dan Wilson penalty equaliser in the 89th minute is what took it to the shootout. Then he scored the winning penalty. Nick DeJesus, the goalkeeper, saved a couple as well, but Dan Wilson scored the winning penalty. So congratulations to Blythe Town, who will face a derby against Blythe Spartans in the NPL East Division next season. 7 years ago they were 6 divisions apart, Blythe Spartans and Blythe Town. There's 2 separate stories going on there. In the Northern League Second Division playoff final yesterday afternoon, that went to penalties as well. We were cheering on Jarrow, with all due respect to Thornaby. They're too far south for us. It was goalless after 90 minutes. Thornaby, though, winning that 4-2 on penalties. And then the third playoff final to go to penalties was at Dunstan. It went to extra time first, but even after 120 minutes, still no goals between them and Stocksbridge Park Steels. But Stocksbridge won it 5-3 on penalties. It's the second season in a row that Dunstan have lost the playoff final in a penalty shootout as well. Gutted for them, but there was a big crowd there. And they will rebuild over the summer. The weekend, non-league wise, finishes tomorrow afternoon. Bank Holiday Monday, Gateshead against Southend at the International Stadium. This is the first time that Gateshead have not been in the top 7 in the playoff places all season long. Tomorrow is the last game of the season. They have to win. It is as simple as that. Here's their manager, Carl Magny.
Our task is really clear, so it's about, from a psychological point of view, making sure the players park all that. It doesn't matter now. The 3 points is the most important thing, and we know what that'll get us. So that's maybe to reflect after the season's finished, whenever that may be. Hopefully it's not Monday. But yeah, I think that's been a really important point, has been trying to leave all those sort of semantics to one side, where we were, what we could have achieved, this, that, the other. We've got to make sure that the players go into the game really clear-minded on the 3 points.
There will be live commentary. I will be joined by Paul Dixon at the International Stadium tomorrow afternoon. 3 o'clock kickoff. The commentary is live on the BBC Sport website and app. A reminder, there is a Total Sport as normal, even though it's a bank holiday, as normal for a Monday 6 o'clock tomorrow night. To cricket, where it's day 3 of Durham's County Championship match away to Hampshire. The hosts responding to Durham's first innings total of 511. Martin Emerson can tell us how they're getting on at lunch.
Well, it's been a decent morning from a Durham point of view. They managed to take 3 wickets. Mark Stoneman, the former Durham opener, was the first to go for 57, caught behind off the bowling of Matty Potts, and then Tom Prest was on just 1 when he tried to cut a ball from Callum Parkinson. He was caught behind as well. But then a partnership developed after that of 65 runs from Nick Gubbins and Ben Brown. Gubbins going just before lunch, going forward to a ball from George Drizzell, who'd switched ends and he got an edge, and he was caught behind on 77. So at lunch, Hampshire are currently 216 for 4. They trail by 295. Ben Brown's got 33 and Liam Dawson 20. Their partnership is worth 22. And after the heat of the last few days, it's much cooler today, and we've got a stiff northerly breeze. So different conditions today, which may indeed help the bowlers.
Tell us about it, Martin. It's been raining up here, obviously not raining down there yet, thankfully, for the cricket. Commentary continues once they resume after lunch on the BBC Sport website and app, or on your smart speaker as well. Just ask BBC Sounds to play Hampshire versus Durham day 3. In the basketball, it's playoff quarter-finals weekend for the men and the women. It's 2 legs for the men. Newcastle Eagles will take a 7-point lead into Monday evening because they were 78-71 winners over Manchester Giants in the first leg at home on Friday night. 5 o'clock tip-off in Manchester for the second leg tomorrow. Good news and bad news for our 2 teams in the Women's Super League playoff quarter-finals, which are only 1 leg. Durham Palatinate unsurprisingly beaten by a very, very strong Sheffield Hatters side last night by 94 points to 42. But much better news for the Newcastle Eagles. It's their best ever season so far, and it is getting even better. They beat Essex Rebels by 90 points to 82. They are into the semi-finals next weekend, hopefully to be joined by the men. Further afield, but not that much further afield, it's only Sheffield. In snooker, Mark Williams and Zhao Xintong have just begun the best of 35 frame final of the World Championships at 1 o'clock. Mark Williams bidding for his 4th title. He's the oldest man ever to reach a World Championship final. Zhao Xintong bidding to become the first Chinese player to win the World Championships. He's in his first final and he has taken the opening frame. So Zhao Xintong leading Mark Williams by 1 frame to 0, but it is first to 18, so there's quite a long way to go. And finally in Formula 1, Red Bull's Max Verstappen beat McLaren's Lando Norris to pole position at the Miami Grand Prix, which takes place at 9 o'clock tonight. The Mercedes driver Kimi Antonelli, who was on pole for the sprint race, grabbed a terrific 3rd ahead of the 2nd McLaren of Oscar Piastri. That one is live on BBC Radio 5 Live this evening. But coming up in just under 25 minutes time, Newcastle United at Brighton. We will rejoin Matthew Raisbeck and John Anderson very shortly once we have relived the 3-0 win over Ipswich.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
At breakfast.
Imagine coming to work one afternoon, all of a sudden you find 6 baby hedgehogs have been born in your care. That's what happened to one lady while she was volunteering at Pause for Thought.
I'd opened the box, I noticed this little thing roll out. I said, crikey, it's had babies.
Have you named the babies?
Well, they're called the Von Trapp family. And the mother's called Maria.
Oh, I love that. That is fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. I'm so glad I asked. Have the most fantastic bank holiday weekend. Myself and the team will see you on Tuesday at 6 a.m.
Breakfast.
Weekdays from 6.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Hit it over to Fabian Schär, has a touch, plays it out wide to Trippier. Now the cross comes in, Isak rises, header from Ipswich towards the goal post. It's in off Bruno. It's in off Bruno, but it's going to be a free kick for Ipswich. Looked like he gave the goalkeeper a barge. VAR is checking. It's been disallowed for a foul. Not a lot of fanfare to greet the goal, but maybe because it seemed like a clear foul. But take a look, Ando.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. He's just stood there. Guimaraes has just stood there, and he's ran into the back of him.
No goal. That's the decision.
I think that should be given.
Johnson then makes a challenge and has it at the edge of the area. Johnson around Byrne. He hits the floor and the referee says no. And he's going to give Newcastle a free kick and a yellow card the Ipswich player for a dive. Byrne challenges for the ball with Enciso, wins it, plays it up the line to Isak, who gets away from Johnson, who pulls him back. Now Johnson's going to go. He's going to have to go. Ben Johnson is off. Second yellow card, and despite all that's gone on, only 1 minute of additional time. Newcastle with the pressure. Oh, surely a penalty. They want a penalty. Bruno's through ball. Murphy says he was pulled down. Black and white shirts surround the referee.
Well, if that's not a penalty, why is he not booking him?
Well, VAR's got to look at this surely. The referee is closer than we are, but it looked like Murphy was pulled down.
He's been abysmal. He's been absolutely abysmal, the referee.
Michael Salisbury telling Newcastle to wait. The referee's going to go to the monitor.
Penalty.
Well, not yet.
Yeah, it will be.
Usually it means that the on-field decision is overturned, and the referee continuing to take a look and communicate with VAR. Now we get the decision. Penalty. We're ready now. Isak to the back of the box, hands on hips. Goalkeeper moving along his line. Isak comes forward and it's into the net. Low down from Isak to the goalkeeper's left. He has his 26th of the season, and eventually the opener, it's Newcastle United 1, Ipswich 0.
Yeah, good penalty, wasn't it?
On to Murphy again, then Trippier. Here's the cross, hung up to the back post, Dan Byrne! Dan Byrne heads in from Trippier's cross, and the second goal has arrived in the 56th minute. It has been coming. Dan Byrne's second of the season, and it's Newcastle United 2, Ipswich Town 0. Lifts it in, Byrne looking for it, Osula! Premier League, minutes after coming on, Trippier's delivery, Osula to the delight of St James's Park, makes it Newcastle United 3, Ipswich Town 0.
What a good header.
Total Sport North East.
Matthew Raisbeck and black and white legend John Anderson.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
And that was some of the action from the win over Ipswich last Saturday. Fairly eventful game and a tough first half for the referee. John Anderson, you were not particularly impressed.
Thought the referee was awful. Yeah. Not just for us, but for both sides. Started poorly and gradually got worse, but look at the end of the day, it's the result that matters. It's not referees, is it? We ended up winning the game 3-0 and winning comfortably, to be fair. I mean, the second half was a little bit of a non-event, to be quite honest, because it was a little bit like attack v defence. They couldn't get out of their half. They had no outlet. Ball just kept coming back, and it was a very, very comfortable win.
Different referee, different officiating team today, by the way. In charge of this one will be Craig Pawson from South Yorkshire. He sent Fabian Scher off on the opening weekend against Southampton. Newcastle have had him 3 times this season, a win, a draw and a defeat in those matches. VAR today is Andy Madley. They are unchanged for this one against Brighton here at the Amex Stadium, and so the players continue their warm-up, and they're going to be wearing the maroon and blue hooped away kit with white shorts, Newcastle. So Pope, Trippier, Scher, Byrne, Livramento, Bruno, Tonali, Willock, Murphy, Isak, Barnes is the starting 11. And recapping on what we've been saying already, and no surprise that it's an unchanged team, given that they won. Most of those players have played regularly recently, and Eddie Howe seems set to give Joe Willock a run in midfield.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it's looking. When we heard last week that Joe Linton was possibly out for the rest of the season, and that's the way that it looks, we wondered who would get that midfield spot. I thought he might go with young Miley, but he's gone with Willock, and he sticks with Willock today. We've already spoke about him, saying it's been a tough old season for him because he's struggled with injuries. He hasn't been able to get a sustained run of games under his belt, but it looks like that he may well do that now between now and the end of the season. So he did all right last week, but you know, it's really difficult when you've been out the length of time that he's been out, and you've come in for the odd game here and there. You need a sustained run of games to get up to the level of the Premier League.
A win for Newcastle takes them up to third, back above Manchester City in the Champions League race. A draw with other teams also playing, particularly Chelsea, would see them stay in fourth, but only if Chelsea fail to beat Liverpool later, or if Chelsea win by only a single goal. Newcastle 2 goals better off than Chelsea currently. Things could change again in not just today, but obviously in the final couple of weeks. But it's really important that they get something this afternoon, you feel, with tough fixtures, starting with Chelsea next week, and then a trip to Arsenal coming up, to ensure that they manage to get across the line and into the top 5. Nottingham Forest, who are 6th, 2 points behind Newcastle, are away to Crystal Palace on Monday night. Brighton are down in 10th in the table, 2 changes. Their team is Verbruggen, Vifa, Dunk, Van Hecke, Estupinian, Baliba, and then Hinchelwood in the middle of midfield with Minte, O'Reilly, Adingra, and then Welbeck in attack. Let's hear a little bit from the Brighton manager, Fabian Hürzeler, because although his team has won twice at St James's Park this season, Hürzeler's been talking about why he thinks going up against Newcastle isn't an easy task.
Physicality, then especially their speed in the front line with Isak, Gordon Barnes, Murphy, so they all have individual quality. They have a lot of players who create then the dynamic from the midfield. Livramento with his underlaps, overlaps, Tonali is there and arriving in the box, so they create a lot of dynamics, they create a lot of power in their attacks, and on the other side they're also very connected because they can play with the same starting 11 for every week, so they seem to be very resilient. So we have a challenge regarding the physicality demand, and we have a challenge how to stop their dynamic play.
So they know that Newcastle will be energetic, dynamic, as he said there. He's also talked about the threat from fullback, particularly Livramento at left back, and we've been discussing why Newcastle struggle against Brighton, and although they've had the better of it in this fixture, Brighton, Newcastle will hopefully pose them a threat the other way. If the good form, good performances can continue, then Brighton may need to worry about what Newcastle do.
Yeah, I don't think you can worry too much about them. I think you've got to concentrate on your own performance. Yes, they've turned us over twice this season, but you concentrate on the good things that you do. Make Brighton worry about you. You think if you bring your A game, you're going to ask questions of Brighton. There's no doubt about that. They've got 1 or 2 injury problems as well. They've got a midfielder playing at fullback, so you've got to look at these things and try to exploit that. So, but as I say, if you bring your A game here, we most definitely will ask questions of them.
Yeah, and that midfielder, Mats Vifa at right back. Tino Livramento has linked up well with Harvey Barnes, but what Livramento's done well is go on the outside on his weaker left foot, deliver crosses which have created goals or then led to goals. He can cut inside as well. That's why he talked about the underlapping runs. So particularly I think on this left-hand side, Livramento, Trippier joins in on the right, but it could be an interesting battle between the 2 sets of fullbacks. Estupinian will get forwards.
Yeah.
Bifa out of position. Let's see how he plays it, but it could be under pressure the other way from Livramento.
Yeah, not Barnes and Livramento build up a good understanding on that left-hand side. Livramento's been exceptional since moving to left back. I mean, obviously young Hall picked up that injury. Livramento's gone in at left back, and it looks like he's somebody that's played there all his career, doesn't he? You know, he's naturally right-sided, but he looks very, very comfortable at left back. He joins in when he can. He gets forward. He carries the ball well. And he's not afraid to dig a cross out when he has to. So, look, it's a combination that works well, and the boy could have his hands full, you know. But you've got to dominate the ball first, though. That's the thing, you know. In order to get your fullbacks and get your wide players into the game, you need to dominate the ball, and that's what we've looked to do first and foremost.
BBC Radio Newcastle and the BBC Sounds app live at the Amex Stadium. 10 minutes until kick-off. I don't know if whoever's choosing the music at Brighton has done it intentionally, but they were playing songs earlier that have been adapted for chants for Newcastle players, and now they're playing this, which has been turned into a chant for Osula, William Osula. Maybe it's intentional, maybe not, but the away fans enjoyed that one. All standing up behind the goal to our right hand side. Players in the changing rooms now. Sprinklers are on the pitch, which sure will be, it could be quite slick and greasy, couldn't it? They've been giving it quite a soaking. I don't know if because of the good weather it had dried out over the last few days, but we've seen it quite a few times at St James's. It was the Palace game when people kept falling over all the time. Manchester United as well. Slipping everywhere.
I mean, everywhere you go, they just water the pitch, don't they? They got plenty of water on it, make it nice and slick. It's all about getting the right footwear on.
Yeah. Unchanged Newcastle 11. A change on the bench though. Sean Neave is a substitute ahead of goalkeeper John Ruddy. Alexander Isak up front again. Only Mo Salah of Liverpool has scored more times in the Premier League than Isak this season. Salah's got 28 in the league, Isak 22, and 26 for Isak in all competitions. Now he's scored 3 in 6 since Wembley, but Eddie Howe accepts that Isak probably is not quite performing all round at his brilliant best at the moment.
Well, he's still scoring important goals for us, and that's never lost on me. None more so than the penalty. Yes, you always probably expect to score a penalty, but that was a key moment in the game at 0-0 against Ipswich, where we needed him to be really cool and do his job and score the goal, and he did. I'd say we probably haven't found a way to get him involved in the game as much. Certainly against Ipswich we didn't. Second half I thought he came alive to a degree. I think there's more to come from Alex than he's shown maybe in recent weeks, but I think we're working towards that. You've got to remember he's had a couple of little niggles within his groin that then limited his ability to train. I think he's trained fine this week. He's looked good, and he's a difference maker, and we need him at 100%.
And finally, looking ahead to Brighton on Sunday, this predates your arrival at the club, but since promotion 8 years ago, Newcastle teams have tended to struggle to play well and often get results against Brighton. Now, I think at St James's this season, you were unlucky not to get the results against them, but why do you think they are such a difficult team to play against?
Yeah, I think always have a tough game against Brighton. We've had some good results at St James's Park historically, not so much this year. The 2 games we lost I thought were both really tight games. They could have gone either way. We fell on the wrong side of them, unfortunately. But I think at Brighton they're a very good team. It's a good atmosphere for them. I also think it's good for the away team. It's a lovely pitch always. It's a good environment, so we would back ourselves against anybody, but certainly we know we're going to have to play at our very best, because it's never an easy game there. You know, congratulations to what they've done over recent seasons, because I think they've come a harder team to beat, and certainly their style of play is very attractive.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Eddie Howe on Brighton and Alexander Isak. Do you agree that there was a question put to him at his pre-match news conference on Friday morning about Isak's form and contribution? Obviously he has scored goals, 3 in 6 since Wembley, but that maybe he's not necessarily looking 100%. He has been carrying, as the manager referenced there, an issue with his groin on and off. what do you think about the way Isak has looked recently? Play with such high standards and therefore high expectations.
It always amazes me when players' form drops off. The first thing people go is, oh, he's injured, he must be injured, he's carrying an injury. There's going to be periods during the season where players' form drops off. The problem with Isak is that he set the standard so high. You know, his level of performance has been to such a high degree that if he drops below it, people think he's been poor. No, he hasn't really been poor. He's still been good, and he's still played to a high standard. But his levels have been that high earlier in the season, and it's, as I say, it's difficult for players to keep that level of performance up through a long season. You know, he's played an awful lot of football. Difficult to keep that level up, but he's still performing to a good level.
Well, players should be with us shortly here at the Amex Stadium. The away end just about full now to our right hand side. Still a smattering of empty blue seats, a lot of empty blue seats in the home sections. There are some late arrivals, particularly out of the hospitality boxes at Brighton. You mentioned earlier that the ground isn't always full. They've still got something to play for. A chance to get into Europe through their league position, so it's an important game and an important end to the season for Brighton, who were 11th last season. Also played in the last 16 of the Europa League, having qualified through finishing 6th 2 years ago. That's when Newcastle came 4th, and that 6th place was Brighton's highest finish in their history. Well, they look set for the top half again, and 8th is a possibility, and Europe for them. For Newcastle United, it's all about trying to get back up to 3rd today, which they will do if they win, but more generally making sure they finish in the top 5, which will bring back Champions League football, and that is still in their own hands.
That's absolutely where you want to be. You want to be in control of your destiny, and I think with 4 games to go we are, but we're very aware that it can change in one round of games, so there's no let up for us. I think our run of results has been very impressive, but what we don't want it to do is to tail off right at the end. So tough fixtures to come, none more so than this first game, but we believe in the team.
And the team led out by Bruno Guimaraes from the tunnel, just a couple of metres away to our left-hand side, with white training tops on, as Brighton emerge with their white and blue striped jerseys, blue shorts and white socks. But Bruggen, the goalkeeper, in a turquoise goalkeeping kit with yellow and white gloves. And now the handshakes with the referee and his assistants, who are wearing luminous yellow shirts, black shorts and socks. Craig Pawson, the referee, Timothy Wood and Wade Smith, the 2 assistants. And Newcastle, Pope in the green and yellow, and then the outfield players underneath their white jackets is the maroon and blue hooped away kit, away shirt, white shorts and maroon and blue socks. And now as they break away from the halfway line, Nick Pope and Bruno Guimaraes run to the away end and applaud the Newcastle supporters. We've had the usual smoke and fire machines that most clubs seem to do now, and it rather leaves an aroma, a scent in the air that tends to linger.
It does.
Yeah, it gets right up your nose.
It's not pleasant, is it?
It's not. The Premier League board, the branding board, with the Newcastle and Brighton club crests on, are being dismantled and carried off the pitch on the far side. And a couple of young mascots posing for pictures next to the centre spot. Newcastle, Pope, Trippier, Cher, Byrne, Livramento, Bruno, Tonali, Willock, Murphy, Isak and Barnes on the bench. Dubravka, Botman, Wilson, Gordon, Kraft, Osula, Longstaff, Miley and Neve, and Brighton, Verbruggen, Vifa, Dunk, Van Hecke, Estupinian, Hinshelwood, Belieber, Minte, O'Reilly, Adingra, and Welbeck. Danny Welbeck, joint top scorer with 10 goals for Brighton, along with João Pedro and Caro Mitoma, who are both missing today. Brighton's bench: Steele, the goalkeeper, Lamptey, Igor Julio, Webster, Gruder, Diego Gomez, Ayari, Veltman and Howell. Now time for the coin toss. Is Bruno going to win it? It doesn't really matter when it's an away.
Doesn't matter because we don't know which way they's kicked, do we?
Yeah. Well, they're going to stay as they are, so Newcastle will kick towards the away fans in the second half. So they'll be shooting to the left from our position in this first half, and the players go together into a huddle. Brighton are ready. And referee Craig Pawson just coming over to the touchline to check on something before we get underway. We're on BBC Radio Newcastle, and today on the BBC Sounds app. You can listen anywhere live on BBC Sounds through the BBC Radio Newcastle section, or if you have a smart speaker, ask it to play BBC Radio Newcastle on a windy and surprisingly chilly day on the south coast. Alexander Isak about to kick off as Newcastle look for a first Premier League win at the Amex Stadium, and a win that would take them back up to third. A huge match in the European quest, the Champions League chase at the end of the season. And United have the ball on the far side. They played it back out to the right, and now it comes into the feet of Nick Pope. Dan Burn in the area, pushes it up to Livramento, closed down quickly by Dingra for Brighton. And it's up towards Willock on halfway. A Brighton header, Tonali forwards. Van Hecke volleys it into United territory. Header on. And then Minte challenged by Livramento. Wants a free kick. Referee says get up. Tonali on the outside of Vifa. Strong run from Tonali. Baliba gets back into a challenge. Then Barnes takes over, heads for the goal line. Barnes clips up the cross, and it's caught by Verbruggen in the 6-yard box. And that was a quick Newcastle attack. Good running from Tonali and then Barnes, but the cross claimed by the goalkeeper.
Yeah, good break down that left side. Tenacious Tonali, wasn't he? Played it down the line. Barnes got the better of Van Hecke, and he's just dinked one up too close to the keeper, unfortunately.
A minute played. Competitive start, and Newcastle with a good attack, and now another one maybe through Bruno. Isak pulls out wide right, level with the penalty box, taking on Dunk out there. Isak turns and comes back, and it's with Trippier inside to Murphy. They've gone back towards halfway now, and Fabian Schär into the second minute. Bruno with the ball. Schär just behind the halfway line, scoops it across to Byrne, plays it up into central midfield to Willock, laid off to Tonali, bit of space for the Italian, looking for Bruno through a gap, it's intercepted, and this is Brighton through Matt O'Reilly onto Yankuba Minte, into the final third on this near side. Minte, Byrne gets a boot to the ball, and Dan Byrne prevents a corner at the expense of a throw, clearing the ball from the goal line.
Minte didn't want the 50-50 with Dan Byrne because he's knocked it too far. And he sees the huge frame of coming. He goes, no, I don't want any of that.
Back in play with Mats Vifa for Brighton, the curly-haired Dutch international. Like we said earlier, central midfielder, filling in, continuing to fill in at right back. Here's the blonde, tall Van Hecke, the player involved in the incident with Anthony Gordon at St James's that saw Gordon sent off in the FA Cup tie. Almost a misplaced pass on the far side from Brighton. Murphy close to winning it, but it's back on halfway with Carlos Baliba. Did you see his goal against West Ham, the winner?
Yeah.
Injury time.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, was it?
Still Brighton possession. 0-0. Vifa infield away from Barnes, close to halfway. Newcastle, having had the ball for the first 2 minutes, can't get it back, but then they manage to get possession through a throw after Brighton's dependable Lewis Dunk at the back made a rare mistake.
Just lost it totally, took his eye off it.
Livramento up the near side, on for Willock, away from Baliba. Good recovery from Baliba, just inside the area to go shoulder to shoulder and then win possession. And then Newcastle with a good challenge. Willock, or it looked like a good challenge, but the referee spotted an infringement. Minte ended up on the floor as Willock tried to claim the ball back close to the Brighton box. Free kick awarded, 0-0.
Yeah, just looked like it coming together. Some you get, some you don't.
Van Hecker from a short pass walks towards the centre circle. Newcastle standing off, and he goes for the long diagonal. On the chase for that one for Brighton, Simon Adingra. Kieran Trippier hooks it out of play. It's a throw, level with the edge of Newcastle's box. Hinshelwood, the midfielder, deep cross to this near side. Livramento watching it. Minte has kept it in next to the corner. And a good battle for the ball. Minte using his strength, holding off Livramento, wriggles free, and a cross that trickles towards Nick Pope in the 6-yard box, and Newcastle's goalkeeper picks it up.
Did the hard bit, didn't he? Oh, he's gone down as well. He's struggling.
I wonder if it's from that earlier issue, from the challenge on him. He is on his back, Yankuba Minte. He's holding his
knee.
Yeah, his right leg, bent leg at the knee, and the Brighton medical team are called onto the pitch by referee Craig Pawson. No goals. We're now in the 6th minute on BBC Radio Newcastle and BBC Sounds, and not really a lot that we can learn from the opening period to the game, Ando.
No, it's not a great deal happened.
Just one attack from Newcastle.
Yeah, both sides feeling each other out. Not too sure the story with Minte. Just knocked that ball in, scuffed it along the ground, ran back, and then just fell to the floor.
He's been helped up to his feet. A couple of teammates have taken a water bottle out of the physio's bag. Minte bending his knee, trying to shake off whatever knock or problem it is. He's rubbing the back of the knee joint. Newcastle had the ball, and they will be given the ball. It will be returned to them by the referee. 0-0 on BBC Radio Newcastle. Nick Pope rolls it out underarm to Fabian Schär on the right. Referee sprints back into the middle. Newcastle go up the right wing with Trippier. A ball for Murphy in the penalty area. Murphy's cross near post, caught low down by Verbruggen, with Isak lurking in the centre.
Just too close to the keeper, wasn't it? Good break. Again, Trippier giving you that width on that right side. Gets into that really good advanced position. Good ball played in behind. Murphy stretching. Just too close to the keeper.
Noise coming from the 3,000 travelling fans to the right-hand side as it's sent forwards by Brighton, then back to Van Hecker on halfway. Now in midfield with Hinshelwood. Left-hand side for the fullback Pervis Estupiñán, the Ecuadorian international. On the centre spot with Van Hecker again. A lot of the play seems to come through him, or it has so far today. Vifa's cross, flicked away by Tonali. Willock with a challenge. Welbeck into the area. Minte, who's back on and moving okay at the edge of the box, plays it back to Vifa. And further back now Brighton, but keeping possession. Van Hecker up to Welbeck.
Offside.
Flag goes up from Timothy Wood on the near side. 8 minutes on the clock. Nick Pope with the ball. Eddie Howe is crouching down at the corner of the technical area. Today he is without Jason Tindall in the dugout, because Tindall was shown his 3rd yellow card of the season against Ipswich last weekend, and as a consequence serves a touchline ban. He didn't take the warm-up either. We're not actually sure where he is, where he's observing this one from, but that was a punishment for a 3rd booking. And there is that rule as the ball goes out on the far side. Brighton throw at left back. they don't like two coaches at the edge of the technical area, only one from each team. Newcastle get away with it a bit, but they didn't last week. Led to the Tyndall booking. Forward ball by Brighton. Minte trying to run in behind Byrne. Dan Byrne's got there. Gets his body between man and ball. Couple of step overs and then a pass out to the near side. Try to pass it to Livramento. It's gone for a Brighton
you don't want
throw.
that happening too often, do you? You don't want him to be isolated with Minte.
Brighton from the right wing from that throw, go back to the goalkeeper, long ball, that's better for Byrne, onto his head, then to Livramento, lifted inside, up and away from O'Reilly to Tonali. Trippier for Murphy, inside to Bruno, back to Murphy, takes it away from a couple of blue and white shirts. Look for the return ball to Bruno, who'd gone to the right wing. Possession won back by the home side, and then goalkeeper Verbruggen now with the ball at his feet. Isak goes to close down. Verbruggen shifts it to the right and hangs up a high ball towards Minte and Byrne. That's the sort of ball that Byrne wants them to play to Minte, not the one on the floor so he can run in behind the one in the air that he heads away like he just did.
I mean, the keeper has got to change sides. He doesn't want to keep sticking it on the head of Dan Bourne. He wants to try and hit Welbeck.
Bruno Guimaraes on the ball as the fans sing the Bruno in the middle song. Fabian Schär. 0-0. Dan Byrne 5 yards from halfway. Barnes drops in to get it. Vifa in front of him. Barnes chips it at the line for Livramento's run. Tried to return it. They get a throw. Eddie Howe applauds. About 30 yards out. Newcastle near side of the pitch. Tonali makes a run, but the throw goes back to Byrne. Nick Pope leaves his penalty area to receive the pass. Then Fabian Schär from Pope's ball back over to Dan Byrne. Takes a touch, he's under pressure here. It's clipped forwards, in behind. Oh, Vifa and Van Hecker. Barnes has got it, edge of the penalty area. Harvey Barnes into the box. Barnes with a low shot. Now, will it be a corner?
Communication at the back.
They're saying that he got a touch, but no goal. No, they've given the corner. The referee, in consultation with the assistant, has given the corner. They were looking at maybe Barnes might have been offside, and whether that was the case in the build-up. But a bit of confusion from the forward ball, and a shot across towards the far corner, low down. Bart Verbruggen must have got fingertips on it.
Doesn't look like it from here, does it? Yeah, but lack of communication at the back between centre-back and full-back. Got themselves in a right angle.
First set piece, first corner for either team. 12th minute, outswinger from Newcastle, looking for Dan Byrne. That's going to be a free kick for Brighton. So Riley
did well, actually, didn't he?
Byrne was behind him, about 10 yards out or so, far side of the box from where the ball came in, and O'Reilly hit the deck under the challenge. They've played it out, then gone back to the goalkeeper.
He's done it again.
They've gone long to Minte. Dan Byrne leans over the top of him, heads it, but straight to O'Reilly. Brighton play it inside. Welbeck deep, carries the ball, and here's a Dingra and Estepinian involved. Back to Welbeck, edge of the area. Belieber shot, blocked by Willock. Obviously been watching Carlos Belieber, the midfielder, in his long-range shots, and they made sure he didn't really have the opportunity.
He didn't really get hold of it either, did he?
Didn't travel very far before Joe Willock made the block. Unchanged Newcastle team today. 0-0. Brighton behind halfway. Dunk in possession. Pressure from Isak. Back it goes to the goalkeeper. Verbruggen out to Vifa. Livramento closes down. Livramento blocks Vifa's pass and then wins it properly. Now Livramento on for Willock. They're in here, Newcastle. Joe Willock in the box, left side. Willock, challenge comes in. He's still got it though. Played back to Livramento on the 18-yard line. Tonali thinking about a shot. Goes square to Bruno, back to Schär. Trippier with a touch. Then rolled in Murphy. Jacob Murphy's cross. Blocked by the keeper at the near post. Bruno's got it. Still in the penalty area. Brighton can't get it clear. Newcastle keeping the pressure on. Murphy, chance to deliver. Caught by Verbruggen near post.
Yeah. Just hung it up, didn't he? Straight into the keeper's arms. Got themselves in a mess at the back, Brighton. Just recycled it again. He's just dinked it, hasn't he, Murphy? Straight into the keeper's hands. Oh,
now risky short passes from the back from Brighton, which then go back to the goalkeeper, then out to Dunk. Van Hecker with a burst over to the far side. They've worked that well, actually. Now Welbeck, who's dropped into midfield, links up the play, passing it up the left wing for Adingra, with Minte in the box, and Vifa, edge of the area, takes a touch, plays it back to Baliba. Joe Willock dispossesses him, does well. Barnes needs an outlet, it's Livramento on this near touchline. Willock goes ahead of him, gets it from Livramento, who carries on the run, overlapping. Willock comes inside, slows it down, back to Byrne. Newcastle keep possession, 0-0. I think now we've had 15 minutes, Ando. Say the start's been decent enough.
yeah, it's end-to-end, isn't it?
Murphy up to Isak, helped it on. It's gone out of a Brighton player for a throw.
Brighton want to try and play out from the back. Got to get that high squeeze on, put the pressure on it. See if you can pinch it in that last third of the pitch.
When they're in the box there a couple of minutes ago, they were in some really good positions a couple of times, but couldn't get the cross to Isak or anybody else in the middle. They're playing a ball here. Bruno switching it for Willock. Nice first touch from Willock, but the second played against Vifa. Up the line, away from Byrne. It's going to get maybe a talking to, possibly a yellow card. Brighton want him booked. Dan Byrne went into the challenge, sliding in.
How can he not see that?
Yankuba Minte went tumbling and is still down. Referee Craig Pawson being booed by the Brighton fans. Minte at speed away from Byrne, who caught him. Oof. When you're going at that speed, it doesn't take much to knock you off course. Dan Byrne, is he going to get away with this?
He's going to get away with it.
It's not even a free kick. No, it's a Newcastle throw. I thought he'd given a free kick, but no yellow card. Craig Pawson's given a throw.
Hey, dear, oh dear.
To be fair to Minte's not really appealed. Here's Willock, a ball in over the top. Willock trying to get their edge of the area, but Bruggen claims it.
And then you wonder why referees get stick.
It's not one where there's loads and loads of where he's clattered him, but I just thought that there was enough contact to knock him off balance.
But if he hasn't caught him, he's away from him.
Yeah. So he definitely caught him. Minte didn't jump out of the way, anticipating the challenge. A bit like Ben Johnson last week for Ipswich against Dan Byrne, who got a yellow card for diving.
Minte didn't dive though.
No. Ball inside from Trippier on halfway, but nobody anticipated it. Willock was nearby but didn't move. Don't think he was expecting Trippier to play the first time pass. Brighton have it back. Verbruggen just in front of the box. Isak now comes in from the right to close him down. Baliba, risky ball played to Dunk on the far side. Bruno was close to it in a Newcastle maroon and blue shirt, but Brighton still have possession. 0-0 on BBC Radio Newcastle and the BBC Sounds app. Verbruggen with it again, walking forwards. Newcastle standing off, then someone breaks to rush him, and it's Barnes this time, and the keeper's kick goes out of play on the far side. In United's half of the pitch, Murphy with the ball, leaves it for Trippier to take the throw. Still cloudy here north of Brighton city centre, and the spotlights are on inside the Amex Stadium with the blue seats, but the rest of it is grey. The back walls and the inside of the roof. Then Premier League matches kicking off at 2. Brentford 0, Manchester United 1. And Manchester United's goal from Mason Mount. Here Newcastle, Willock, good ball. Barnes, left corner of the penalty area. Livramento on the outside, gets it from Barnes. Livramento's cross blocked by Van Hecke in the middle, and they let it run for a throw, about in line with the penalty spot, taken there by Joe Willock. Here's Sandro Tonali, could go back to Willock, instead turns, and it's Byrne and now Cher on halfway. There's been another goal as well. West Ham 0, Tottenham Hotspur 1. 4:30 is Chelsea against Liverpool. Goalless here. Cher to Murphy, up the line for Bruno. Kept in by Bruno, close to the line, back to Trippier, and now Cher across the centre circle for Byrne. Barnes giving them width on the near side. Minte closes down. Barnes skips infield, does well. Barnes, Isak edge of the area, collects. Rolled it through, but Willock didn't make the run.
I think there was too much on it anyway. Just afraid of getting himself into an offside position. Willock
just broke down there with that ball from Isak after the Barnes run infield. It would have been a nice move if it had come off. 20 on the clock. Are you happy enough with how they're playing?
Yeah.
You remember the game here last season? It was September 2023. So a long time ago, and Brighton won 3-1. The Evan Ferguson hat-trick. He's now on loan at West Ham. Callum Wilson got a late consolation for Newcastle, but they were really well beaten.
They were well beaten on the day.
One of a few like that they've had here, but this one, I'd say they've probably shaded it so far. Barnes with a shot just wide that the referee and assistant said the goalkeeper pushed past the post. Brighton disputed that. It's their only real chance, despite getting into some good positions. Brighton yet to test Nick Pope. Lewis Dunk for Jack Hinshelwood. Hinshelwood, the 20-year-old midfielder, who's come through the Brighton Academy. Inside to Baliba and Vifa, some space. Good 40 yards out though. Back inside to Baliba. Willock. Must be Willock's job to get about Baliba, because every time he's on the ball, Willock is there, closing down, blocking his shots. Now they look for Vifa up the right side. He's got away in from Livramento, who's lost his boot, and Livramento's down and the referee's whistle has gone. So Livramento will need his boot back first, and then he pulls himself up, having been upended by Vifa. Close to the assistant referee. Free kick given to Newcastle, and still goalless. 8 away wins this season. One more for 9 would equal their Premier League record, which they last achieved in 2002, and they also did it in 95, 94-95, but there were more teams. There were 4 more matches in the Premier League in 94-95 than the 38 that they play now. Dan Byrne hooks the ball away. Isak rises. Van Hecke behind him, heads it forwards. Byrne onto it. It's lost out to Minte. Minte does very well with a bit of help from O'Reilly to switch the play. Adingra into the penalty area, then back outside the box. Here's Baliba. Oh, what on earth was that?
That was a shot.
What happened? It's gone for a throw on the far side.
I don't know what he was trying to do.
I don't know which part of his body that's come off, but it's gone out square to the left, when it's definitely not what he intended. I don't know if he swung his leg and it hit the other one, or...
No idea.
Throw's been taken. Trippier to Tonali, then lifted across the penalty box. Byrne controls with his head. It's a nice cushioned touch. Then a pass forwards to Livramento, away from Minte. Livramento fouled next to the halfway line. Brighton manager Fabian Hürzeler having a bit of a go. Minte shouts at the 4th official, and the referee Craig Pawson tells Yankuba Minte to stop shouting at the fourth official. Livramento's half on the pitch, half off it, and he's rolling around, holding his face and his leg. I don't know, there's no blood. I'm not sure quite where the contact was. He's now holding his right ankle. The fact that he's still partly on the pitch means that the game can't continue. Where did Minte catch him?
Not sure. Sure.
Livramento back up and moving with a bit of a limp. Brighton 0, Newcastle 0 on BBC Radio Newcastle and BBC Sounds. Referee has got his hand on Livramento's back. Craig Pawson, having chatted to him, now jogs forwards. Free kick just ahead of halfway on the left. And the Brighton defenders put their line, what's that, about 10 to 15 yards ahead of the penalty box. Tonali's in field next to the centre circle. If Trippier plays it square, which he does, now the forward players move around across that line. Tonali into the box, but straight behind. Nobody read the pass, nobody made the move.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what that one was. Just a straight ball, isn't it? Straight over the top of everybody. Here we go, this is where they play out.
Big Lewis Dunk rolls the ball to the goalkeeper Barbara Bruggen and then gets it back. So passed, hit to the keeper and made his run, pass and move over to the left and receives it. Now they've gone backwards. Hinshelwood, the central midfielder, to Baliba and forwards, and it's Welbeck in that deeper position. So it's Adingra who's come in from the left wing into the centre. Welbeck's gone out to the left. Newcastle win it back and then clear it out for a throw on the near side. Vifa to Van Hecke. Hinshelwood given away straight to Joe Willock. They can attack here. Willock with lots of space to hit up the left hand side into the area. Willock still going. Willock, oh, he's gone for it himself. And he's cleared the crossbar. Might even have clipped the bar, Joe Willock. He went with the outside of the right boot at the near post, tried to whip it in and whip it around the goalkeeper, but it's off target and it remains 0-0, but it's a really good chance.
Has he shot, or has he tried to bend that with his right foot into an area?
It's the closest they've come. Definitely a better opportunity than the Barnes shot, that sighted goal they had earlier on. Brighton now with fullback Purvis Estupinian in an advanced position on the left, inside to Adingra, who's back out there. Murphy makes a challenge. Some home fans want a free kick. Referee says no. Tonali here, only Isak up ahead of him. Bruno out to the wide position. Bruno chips it forwards and Van Hecke chests down. FIFA now in Newcastle's half on the near side for Minte. Chance to run at Livramento. Got the ball on his left, cuts in off the right wing. Passes it to Baliba. Brighton still with possession, 0-0. Welbeck comes deep to lay it off. Then they play it forwards to Hinshelwood, who bursts into the box. It's out with Adingra on the left wing. Curling cross, Livramento heads away. Vifa retrieves it. Finds Minte in the penalty area. Cuts inside onto his left. Still Minte! And for the second time this season, Yankuba Minte scores against Newcastle United. We've got the equaliser in the FA Cup tie in March, and now he puts Brighton ahead at the Amex Stadium. A curling shot with his left from inside the penalty area. They showed him inside, and Yankuba Minte has beaten Nick Pope. And in a game of few chances so far, 29 on the clock, The hosts open the scoring. Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Newcastle United 0.
It's a good finish, isn't it? Just cuts inside, just tucks it in that far corner. Keeper's got no chance. They just recycle the clearance. Minte, he's cut inside Livramento and he's no chance of stopping that.
Minte celebrated in front of the away fans.
Yeah, don't like seeing that.
Gave him some back. Well, he was annoyed earlier that he didn't get a free kick when Dan Burn challenged him, and then that he conceded a free kick for fouling Livramento. His mood will have improved from that goal. Tonali fouled by O'Reilly next to the halfway line after Newcastle kick-off. Brighton's manager Fabian Hürzeler, who is one of the more talkative coaches, continuing to complain to the fourth official. He's been doing that a lot so far. I didn't really see that goal coming. I'm not saying I necessarily saw one at the other end. They had that Willock opportunity when he, well, it might have been a cross, it would have been an overhit cross, could have been a shot, but Brighton haven't really offered a lot. But now they're in front.
Yeah, good goal, took it well.
Trippier's free kick. Dan Burn trying to get something of it at the edge of the area. It's away by Brighton. West Ham have equalised against Spurs. That is now 1-1. Trippier has done very well to keep the ball in on the far side under pressure from O'Reilly, and he's scooped the ball away from him and been fouled. So gets a free kick. Great touch from Trippier, and then taken out by the trailing leg.
He made sure he was going down as well, didn't he?
Also 1-1, Brentford and Man United. Mason Mount for Man United, and an own goal from Luke Shaw for 1-1. Free kick to the edge of the box, Van Hecke's header away. Baliba takes it out to the far touchline for the home side. Blocked clearance, stopped by Tonali. Baliba then chases after it, pursued by Tonali, clears it. Minte on a run. Pope comes into the centre of Newcastle's half to lift it away. Bruno's brought it down, he's done well. Now Barnes bundled over by Vipa, clearly knocked to the floor. And it's going to be is there a yellow card for Vipa?
Dear, oh dear.
But that might be for delaying the restart because he grabbed the ball.
Nobody was around it, so it couldn't have been couldn't have restarted.
The home fans not impressed by the referees
in the middle of it all again.
1-0 Brighton lead here. West Ham 1, Spurs 1. Wilson Odobert for Spurs, Jared Bowen with the West Ham equaliser. Can Newcastle get the equaliser here? This is the free kick. Fabian Schär behind the ball, ahead of the centre circle. Chipped into the box towards Burn, who heads it back across, but straight to Baliba, who balloons his attempted clearance out on the near side for a throw. 33rd minute, and Barnes drops it at the feet of Livramento. It's gone inside to Tonali. For once at Brighton, they've actually played all right. They've not been too bad, but the home team through Yankuba Minte against his old club. 1-0 in front. Murphy and Bruno on the far side. As Bruno comes away from the right wing into a central position, then passes it out to Trippier. Then the infield now with Willock. Good ball to the left to Livramento, on to Barnes. Moving it well enough, Newcastle. Barnes to Willock. Now Tonali back through into the box towards Willock. Volleyed clear by Minte. Schär here just sees off the threat of a Dingra behind him, passes it to Pope, gets it back, and now Burn needing an option. It's Willock, left side of central midfield, up towards Barnes. Vifa clears, Newcastle throw. Livramento with the ball, back to Dan Burn. switched it to the right boot of Kieran Trippier, up to Murphy. Not seen a lot of Murphy so far. He lost the ball, but now Murphy has it back. Isak drops in, again another who's been quiet. Takes a couple of touches, plays it back to Tonali, centre circle. Livramento with Barnes just ahead of him. And Harvey Barnes takes it on, starts to run. Livramento out there for support. Brighton get a throw. Minte made the challenge. It's about 15-20 yards from the goal. Barnes expected to get the decision. It's gone the way of Brighton. And then the sarcastic cheers followed. Throw straight onto the head of Livramento. Isak then nods it down. Here's Bruno looking for Barnes. He's on the right this time.
Hit it.
Barnes a chance to go for goal, and he does. It's blocked. He's got another opportunity. Goes on the outside. Dinks up the cross. Van Hecke's header. Oh, caught by the keeper and then spilled onto the roof of the net. It'll be a corner. Harvey Barnes instrumental in that Newcastle attack with a blocked shot and then a decent cross hung up. Van Hecke got there, and Verbruggen looked like he caught it, but then it slipped out of his grasp and could have gone into the net, but it went on top of the net. But did the keeper even touch it, or was it just the header? We're about to see again on a replay.
Yeah,
he's just pushed it over.
Yeah.
Here's the corner to the back of the box. Byrne goes for it. Brighton get it away. Murphy's done well to win it. Now Livramento. Bruno slips from Livramento's pass. Brighton over the top, but Pope in a good position to sweep up and send it clear. Dan Burn stayed up there. Dan Burn on the right wing. A bit like Harry Maguire for Man United the other night. Burn, he's done well there. Brought it down. And it's now with Isak. And inside to Tonali. Burn again. In a central position. Livramento for Joe Willock. Waits for the challenge to come in. Plays it back to Livramento, who hammers it across to Cher. Right side of the centre circle. Up to Murphy. Newcastle again with good possession in the Brighton half. Tonali, nice run. Angled ball from Murphy to find him. Out wide to Trippier. Here's the cross. Too high for Isak and Willock. And Minte. Overhead kick and clearance.
Just keeps coming back at them.
I'll have a look for the possession stats. What matters is that Newcastle are 1-0 down, but it's been a different type of game, different type of performance here. Ball up the line towards Murphy. He's won a throw off Dunk. As of a couple of minutes ago, Newcastle 52% of the ball. Byrne. Livramento on the touchline, inside to Barnes, lets it run. Finding space, and Isak, and now Bruno in the penalty area. Bruno shot straight into the hands of Verbruggen, who just moves
one of them
to his right.
scooped ones, isn't it?
Makes a comfortable save.
Gets nothing on it, he just scoops it. Gets himself in there. Just scoop. No power in it.
You want him to put his foot through it, don't you?
Doesn't though, does he?
38th minute on BBC Radio Newcastle and the BBC Sounds app. They look for an equaliser. Murphy back to Byrne. He had to rush to get it away, and he's done so and found Livramento and on to Barnes. They're playing well, Newcastle, but they need an equaliser. Barnes drops his shoulder, beats one but not the second, got away from Baliba but not Vifa. Up the line now for Minte. Byrne is there, plays it back to the goalkeeper. Fabian Cher here goes for that trademark diagonal. Barnes miscontrols. Couldn't bring it onto his left boot. It's going to be a Brighton ball from the throw. They'd gone 6 without a win before beating West Ham last Saturday with 2 late goals. Newcastle 7 wins from 8 in all competitions since losing to Brighton in the FA Cup 2 months ago. They're in possession again with Byrne. Tonali comes deep, he's got a man on. Tonali drops his shoulder, gets away, forward pass. Brought back by the referee because that was a foul by O'Reilly, and there have been a few from him so far. Only Vifa in the book. Anthony Gordon warming up. Comes back to the bench in his luminous orange bib. Bruno by halfway to Byrne, forwards to Livramento, straight back to Byrne, takes it forwards, big touch from Byrne, looking for Barnes. It's gone off a Brighton player, and then Baliba has to come across to stick it out. Willock now about in line with the penalty box, throws it back to Bruno. Brighton standing off, that's why some of the home fans are groaning. Newcastle time to pick out the pass, and Bruno from this shaded part of the pitch to the part of the field which is basking in glorious sunshine again. It's nice over there, it's warmer over there.
Yeah, probably is.
Throw for Newcastle after it went out, and now they come back to this left hand side, which is where they've had most of their joy, you would say, most of their purposeful attacking play. Here's some more of it. Byrne gives it to Livramento and goes into the attack. Byrne, as Livramento comes from the left into the centre, cuts back inside. Did well. They didn't know what he was doing, where he was going. Here in Newcastle with Murphy and Bruno, back through to Murphy. Murphy's pull back away, cleared. Chance to cross now, Trippier. It's gone back to Bruno, still in the area. Bruno, challenge comes in. The free kick goes Brighton's way after the referee blows his whistle.
Yeah, he went looking for it, didn't he?
Bruno, great 1-2 with Murphy. Murphy could have taken a touch, couldn't he? Played it first time straight to a defender in blue and white.
Just jumped into him, didn't he? Right, what? Oh. I'll leave me leg there and jump at it.
Bruno on Adingra. Brighton 1, Newcastle 0. Into the final 5 minutes of the first half. Header from Cher from the free kick, and Bruno's got the ball now. United have lost the ball, but then they've regained possession. Trippier out to the far touchline towards Murphy, back inside. Brighton recover it, and Hinshelwood's one of those players, see it a lot now with the socks pulled right down, must have very short shin pads on. Fabian Cher, good win. Barnes inside for Tonali, bit of space. Willock, Livramento, he's attacked so much in this first half, played in by Willock's ball. Livramento, the challenge has come in from Baliba, but
there's no challenge at all.
Neither of them touched the ball, and it's just gone behind from Willock's pass. I think Livramento was waiting for the contact.
He was waiting for the...
It's a goal kick. The balance of play, it's a disappointing scoreline, and it's the player they sold last summer, Yankuba Minte, who scored against them again. We called him a former Newcastle player. It's probably slightly misleading because he didn't actually wear the shirt, not in a game anyway. He was on the books and then sold last summer for 30 million. Adingra on the other side, well defended by Trippier. Away to Murphy. High long ball from Murphy. Van Hecke backpedaling, heads away, had to get there because Isak was right beside him. Baliba now to Dunk, and Van Hecke brings it into the centre circle with a pass for Carlos Baliba. Estepinian under pressure, gives it to Dunk. They go back to the keeper. Newcastle are pushed up towards halfway, and Barnes and Isak are on the edge of the penalty area as Verbruggen pings it up towards Welbeck. Foul by Cher.
Rugby tackling him.
It's near the centre circle. Referee's telling them to bring it back and take it from the correct position. They've gone for a quick one out to Minte, who was in. BBC Radio Newcastle and the BBC Sounds app. If you want to send us your messages about the first half, try to get through some of them at half time on X. We are at BBC Newcastle, or WhatsApp, put BBC at the start, and the WhatsApp number 08000 321 333. There's another attack from the home side. Albion through Adingra, twisting and turning, then a back heel to Estepinian, who has a touch, goes on the outside. It's a good ball in.
Yeah, it's too close to keeper. Far too close to the keeper.
Got height on it towards the near post, but Nick Pope claimed it. Bruno deep in midfield. It's the fourth official, Stephen Martin, gets ready with the numbers board. It's going to be 2 additional minutes by the looks of things. Livramento to Tonali, still 30 seconds of the 45 to play. Brighton on 1-0 up, Yankuba Minte the goal scorer. I can tell you there's been another goal in the Premier League. Brentford 2-1 up on Manchester United, Kevin Schade. Willock to Byrne. Tonali's dropped in between the centre backs. Minte on his shoulder. Tonali almost lost it and then recovered. Edge of the penalty area. That would have been disastrous for Newcastle. Tonali's got it again. Here's the numbers board to show a minimum of 2 additional minutes. Isak on halfway receives the ball, plays it straight back to Tonali. They've just not had him in the game. Livramento central position, looks for Bruno, who's challenged, and Brighton have it back. Then Trippier stops their progress up the pitch. Estepinian,
good feet,
in a central position as well. Then Bruno fouls Hinchelwood just behind the halfway line, and the whistle goes. Ending the first half with just over a minute of the added time. Defending this free kick, Van Hecke. Accurate ball onto the left boot of Minte, pushed away by Livramento, but Minte gets it back. Baliba now, close to the halfway line, to Dunk. And Van Hecke, foot on the ball, over to Dunk again. Forwards from Van Hecke, a burst from O'Reilly. They're in the final third now. Brighton. Minte assessing his options. Inside it comes to Baliba, and then to the left wing for Adingra. There's 3 Newcastle shirts with him. Murphy stopping him from crossing. Ball played backwards to Estepinian. Bruno getting close to Baliba. Van Hecke now looking for Estepinian. Volleyed cross, stopped by Trippier. Away by Murphy and Bruno. There's 10 seconds left. Bruno on the move.
Went looking for it.
Referee says no foul. And the 2 minutes are up. So now it's about Craig Pawson and when he decides to blow for half time. He's having a look and now puts the whistle to his lips. Newcastle, despite doing pretty well, all things considered, not one of their best performances, but better than they usually serve up at the Amex Stadium. Go win it.
I don't think we played that badly, to be quite honest. Just need a bit more intensity about what we do. Need to do it a little bit quicker. And as I said to you just before half time there, Ray, you know, it's a big 45 minutes for us coming up, but we're not out of this game by a long way.
They need to turn it around. Second half has started. BBC Radio Newcastle and the BBC Sounds app. They're shooting towards the away end to the right-hand side in the second period. In the away kit, maroon and blue. Brighton, blue stripes on a white home jersey. Long ball forwards from the hosts. gathered by Nick Pope at the edge of the area. Big overarm throw. It's good distribution that from Pope. Livramento, positive run up to Barnes in a good position. Barnes breaks into the area. Oh, the cutback when you had Isak and Murphy who went in towards goal.
It's a great
and
cutback.
Willock chasing in, couldn't quite get there.
It's a great cutback into a great area. You expect somebody arriving in that area. Everybody had gone in flat.
Well, they've got the ball again after Brighton put it out for a throw. That was a good attack at the start of this second half. Livramento to Barnes again. Sends the defender to the floor, lifts in a deep cross. Estepinian
Good
sees
defending.
it behind at the back post.
Good communication. He could have played at the full-back, but got a shout, left it. Ball's flown behind, goal kick.
As with the first half, they've attacked down or up the left. Barnes, I think, has been pretty good today, as likely as anybody to give them a goal or a moment. Livramento involved from full-back. Still Brighton have the lead. The home side with Verbruggen in goal, Vifa, Dunk, Van Hecke, Estepinian in defence, middle of midfield, Baliba and Hinshelwood. Minte on the right, Adingra on the left, O'Reilly in a central role playing off Welbeck. No Mitoma, no João Pedro today for Brighton. The ball with Estepinian, back to Van Hecke, edge of the box. Dunk, left corner of the penalty area, back to Verbruggen. Barnes goes to close down, as does Livramento. It's moved out to Vifa on the far side, and they've worked their way up to halfway. Minte cuts in, Livramento gets his boot to the ball. It's gone to Welbeck on halfway, holds it up, back to Van Hecke. Brighton's bench: Steele, the goalkeeper, Lamptey, Igor Julio, Webster, Gruder, Diego Gomez, Ayari, Veltman and Howell. Here's a Brighton attack. And it's a challenge from Newcastle on Hinshelwood at the edge of the area, far side to stop them getting in. Murphy then lays it off to Tonali. And Newcastle lose the ball in the middle of midfield. Adingra to Estepinian, back out to Simon Adingra. Threatening to take on Trippier, he doesn't. He passes it inside to Hinshelwood. Baliba with it now. And Adingra 20 yards out. In off the left, Estepinian out wide, free near the corner, deep cross, volleyed away by Livramento. Castle push up a few yards, but still penned in. It's at the feet of Lewis Dunk. Starts to drive Brighton forwards, comes to the edge of the box, turns and passes it back to halfway to Van Hecke. Still with the Dutch defender, and now Dunk again. Every Newcastle player behind the ball. 4 minutes gone in the second half. Adingra for Brighton, who still lead by a goal to nil. Hinshelwood, they're knocking it around confidently now. This is more like the Brighton that Newcastle are used to playing against, but Eddie Howe's players happy enough to let them have it. It's got good shape, Newcastle, at the minute.
Yeah.
Now Baliba gets away from a couple in midfield. Edge of the area, Baliba still going. Flicks it out wide right. Minte, low cross. It's cleared by Trippier. And then a foul potentially, nothing given on Bruno in the middle of the box. Pope picks it up anyway.
Patient, weren't they? Patient, worked it wide. Minte whips one in.
Tonali here, Hinshelwood at his back. Tonali holds him off, does really well. There were two on him in the end. Share, that's behind Trippier, so they have to slow it down. Trippier's giving it away, looking for Bruno, and Brighton, they abandon the idea of a quick break and go backwards and pick their passes, and then they lose it through O'Reilly. Willock back to Byrne. Dan Byrne through the centre, on towards Joe Willock, who's been dispossessed by Baliba. And then there's a challenge in midfield. Now Tonali is down, and the referee is going across to Sandro Tonali, who's rolling over. Bruno's having a word with Craig Pawson. Now if it's Mats Vifa, he's already been yellow carded. but I'm not quite sure who it was who caught Tonali. There was a crowd of players. He's gone in. Ball bounces in between them, and he wins the ball first and catches Tonali on the follow through.
Nothing he can do there.
Tonali is still down, lying on his side. The Newcastle physio hasn't been called on. It's like right ankle for Tonali. But he got the ball, and it was just a case of catching Tonali after he'd played the ball, and it wasn't a malicious challenge based on the replay we've seen. He might have caught the ball with his other foot and then got a bit of Tonali. Just take a look at another angle just to see if there's any different perspective on it. Okay. FIFA pointed straight at the ball when he got up. Tonali is tying his bootlace. It's going to be okay. It's a Newcastle free kick. They've given it as a foul. I'm sure he got the ball first, but there was the follow through. Brighton 1, Newcastle 0. And Kieran Trippier next to the ball. Harvey Barnes has dropped back to halfway, potentially to receive it. He does get it. 52 minutes played inside to Tonali. Drives it forwards. That's a good one. Header inside by Cher. Willock back to goal. Now Bruno trying to take it on. Brighton clear it. That was a clever move, something they'd rehearsed, but it just broke down in the box from the knockdown from Willock towards Bruno. Now Trippier makes a block on Minte to stop the Brighton counter-attack, and away go Newcastle up to the other end. Joe Willock. Driving run from Willock. Great pace. Willock overruns it though as he gets towards the goal line. Did the hard stuff to find himself a yard or two, and then a heavy touch, one too many, goal kick.
Yeah, it's one thing running with it and getting past people, but then you've got to know when to release it. He just runs out of room.
FIFA was never catching him,
and Willock was never catching the ball.
They're going to bring on Tariq Lamptey, possibly for Mats FIFA, and they're doing that now. A right back, a full back, Lamptey. It's probably a bit quicker, and midfielder FIFA has been out of position, is coming off on a yellow card. Fabian Hurzler, the Brighton manager, just managing that situation. And at some point he might be up against Anthony Gordon, who was warming up alongside Callum Wilson and Sven Botman.
Lamptey's quick.
His first change of the afternoon in the 54th minute, with the home side still leading. Newcastle behind to Yankuba Minte's first half goal. Long from Verbruggen onto the head of Byrne. Cher helps it on. Estepinian slips on halfway. Hinchelwood's got it. Then Willock wins it back for Isak, and now Bruno. Barnes runs in behind. Bruno keeps carrying it out to the left. Livramento in the attack now. They're 15 yards out. Livramento to Willock. Drags it back. Looking to create, Joe Willock. Bruno, what can he conjure up? Murphy in the D. Murphy. Oh dear. It's a bit of a wild swing at the ball from Murphy, and it ends up in with the fans behind the goal.
Always rising, wasn't it? Always leaning back.
Here comes Anthony Gordon. Eddie Howe's called him back to the bench. Might well be for Murphy, because Barnes has been, I think, probably their most impressive attacking player. Welbeck wants a free kick for Cher's challenge, but doesn't get it. Newcastle on the attack again. They look for Willock in the box, and it's Minte who cuts it out and then puts it out for a throw near the corner flag. Gordon getting ready. Fourth official has been handed the numbers board. Newcastle free kick on the far side, a trip by Minte on Willock. When do they want Gordon on? Is it now or is it after the free kick? I think it's now. Stephen Martin puts Jacob Murphy's number up, 23, and Gordon's number 10. And that's Newcastle's first change at 1-0 down, 56 minutes.
Yeah, you would think Barnes will come to this right side. That's what usually happens, isn't it?
Gordon sprints up towards the Brighton penalty area as Murphy puts a jacket on, takes his place on the bench. BBC Radio Newcastle and the BBC Sounds app looking for the equaliser. Out on the far left hand side, Trippier curling free kick, Brighton header away, then a clearance that goes for a throw far side. Isak's been quiet again.
Yeah.
Can they get him into the game more, or is there a bigger problem here, him maybe with his fitness or something? He's not had a chance, and when they've got into crossing positions they've not found him, have they? Gordon on the left wing, down on his chest, good take, running at Lamptey. Anthony Gordon beats him, down, and the referee's given the penalty. Anthony Gordon straight into the action after coming on, ran at Tariq Lamptey, cut back inside onto his right and was taken down, and Craig Pawson, the referee, has pointed to the penalty spot.
Nailed on, isn't it? Just dangles a leg.
Was it outside the box though?
No, it's on the line.
VAR will obviously check as a matter of course. Gordon's fall takes him into the area. This could be downgraded in that sense to a free kick. Referee's got his hands on hips in the box. He appears to be communicating with VAR, and I think this might become a free kick rather than a penalty. Andy Madley is the VAR. Lamptey catches Gordon. Ooh. Gordon's boot is the front of his boot is about on the line of the penalty box, but there's no offside. They're looking at an offside here, but he's level. I think this is going to be changed to a free kick, but
how long does it take them?
Yeah. Well, we're still waiting. They're checking the penalty. I think it's outside, but the referee went to put his whistle to his lips. Isak's got the ball under his arm. It's Brighton 1, Newcastle 0. Yeah, they've taken it back a frame, but that looks like it's clearly outside. But they're still checking. Yeah, and now it's not going to be a penalty. It's going to be a free kick, and it is the correct decision, as disappointing as it is. But it
took an eternity though, didn't it?
There's inches in it. That's all.
It took an absolute eternity.
So no penalty, and the giant screens show incident outside the penalty area. That's the message that's displayed just outside the box. Lamptey on Gordon. Brighton fans cheering because they've just seen it again. But it's a clear foul, and it's going to be a free kick.
Yeah.
Listen, if they score from this, and with an hour gone, they need an equaliser, it won't matter at all. VAR overturning the referee's decision to give the penalty. Free kick, probably in line with the penalty spot, down the left-hand side of the area. Tonali behind the ball. Trippier sprints over to this near side. Everybody back and deep for Brighton. Tonali blocked. Cher deflected. Corner. Tonali blocked at the near side. Cher on the follow-up behind.
He went for the strike, didn't he? Just whipped it near post.
Keeping the pressure on. Trippier's in swinging corner. Header from Estupinian. Back out to Trippier. Heads it down the line. Gordon inside to Livramento. Tonali back to Livramento, and then Gordon, who's the furthest outfield player back. Hung up by Gordon into the box. Burns got hands on his man. Heads it on, and it's
free kick.
Caught by Verbruggen.
No, he didn't give a free kick.
Rolled out to Lamptey. That was quite the introduction for Gordon. Still 1-0 to Brighton. Here's Fabian Schär. Oh, he's played the ball against O'Reilly at the edge of the area. Brighton in the box. And Newcastle through a recovery challenge from Schär, making amends.
O'Reilly wanted all day, didn't he?
It's a corner. Might even have beaten. No, it was Tonali actually. Schär slid in on O'Reilly, who got the cross in, but then it deflected behind off Tonali. Got lucky there.
Yeah, just put your foot behind it, just clear your lines.
Corner on the far side, the Brighton right, goal to the left. Come in left-footed. Referee keeping a close eye at the edge of the box. It's high towards the back of the penalty area. Dan Burn flicks away. Yankuba Minte keeps it in. Bruno closes down, and Minte makes a challenge, hits the deck. Newcastle, oh dear. They won it back. Bruno tried to chip it up the line for Gordon and put it straight out. And they had a decent position there with Gordon making that run, but it's going to be a Brighton throw. Frustrating start to the second half in many respects. Header on by Brighton from the throw, picked up by Pope. He runs to the edge of the penalty area and sees that his quick options have all gone. Everyone's closed down. It's dropped at the feet of Byrne. Livramento drops in, brings it infield 10 yards and then back to Schär, and then Trippier again. Yankuba Minte with the game's only goal so far here on BBC Radio Newcastle, and Minte's got it back for Brighton. Centre of Newcastle's half. Welbeck intercepted by Trippier, now inside to Tonali. Tonali caught by Welbeck after he played it. Both players are down. Brighton still attacking, and then Lamptey, the cross stopped by Byrne, and here United go. Willock has got a man at his back, moves it to the left to Isak. Alexander Isak's first real run at the Brighton defence, just outside the area, gives it to Barnes. Harvey Barnes in the box, onto his left, still Barnes, caught by Verbruggen. Went high Barnes, but the goalkeeper read it and made the save.
Yeah, straight at him, wasn't it? Just dinked inside on that left foot. Decent height for the keeper as well.
64th minute. Verbruggen long, straight onto the head of Byrne. Tonali then helps it forwards first time, but it's gone, almost went out. Lamptey decided to keep it in, and that was a good decision because Dan Burns then conceded a throw 25 yards from Newcastle's goal. BBC Radio Newcastle, and we're on the BBC Sounds app. You have a smart speaker, ask it to play BBC Radio Newcastle, and you can hear the commentary that way. Gordon comes chasing after Van Hecke from the throw, which is back to halfway. Now Estupinian closed down by Barnes, given away to Trippier. Good run by Trippier, wins a throw. A few yards into the Brighton half, applauded by Eddie Howe and Graham Jones in the technical area. Taken to Bruno. Bruno brought under control and then fouled by Adingra. Bruno about to take it from the wrong position, then has to move it back a couple of yards. It's just over 30 yards out from the goal. Wilson and Miley warming up, Osula as well. They're on the touchline to our left. To the right, Newcastle with a Kieran Trippier free kick. Anthony Gordon coming over to the near side for a word, maybe to do something clever. Gordon standing behind Trippier, again the furthest player back. Brighton on the edge of their box with their defensive line. Trippier flicks it to Gordon, deep cross into the box. Dan Byrne chasing after it, keeps it in near the corner flag. Byrne, good wing play, then a cross from Byrne. Livramento makes a challenge and Gordon plays it back to Trippier, and now Tonali away from Minte. Fabian Schär on the near side. Good first time ball up the line for Harvey Barnes. Chance to deliver. Barnes with the cross. Header from Van Hecke just before it would reach Isak. Tonali's header wide to Barnes again. Now playing on the right with Gordon on the left. 1-0 to Brighton. Bruno, right wing. This is Tonali, shifts it, and the cross is blocked by Estepinian. Out for a throw. Taken by Tonali to Trippier, who chests it down, gives it back to Sandro Tonali. Inside for Bruno. Got Welbeck at his back. Bruno still going. Livramento there. Bruno. Referee says play on. Advantage. Newcastle have the ball. Livramento to Gordon on the far touchline. Minte. That's a foul. And they have a free kick. About 40 yards out. Still trying to get the equaliser. Trying to get back into this game. Estepinian intercepts and slips. It's a bit lucky because Hinshelwood was there and able to clear. Now Willock on his chest, away from Van Hecke. Willock and on to Gordon. Bit of space, edge of the area. Gordon then gets the ball caught under his feet. He's still got it now, Gordon. And Barnes right side in the box. Chips up the cross. Deflection from a Brighton defender, and then they head clear.
Can't get out.
But Newcastle can't get that one moment, that one chance. Here's Barnes. On the outside of Adingra, still Barnes, low cross, Isak, a back heel, and it deflects and then bobbles up into the hands of Verbruggen.
Yeah, it was hopeful more than anything, wasn't it? Back heel, a crowd of players.
I think it hit Willock from Isak's back heel. It's going to be another Brighton change, in fact, 2 of them. They still have the 1-0 lead given to them by Yankuba Minte, and that goal from Minte is in the 28th minute. We're now in the 68th minute. Van Hecke chased by Gordon. Trippier makes a challenge on Adingra. It's a Brighton throw. Their substitutions are going to come now. Jack Hinshelwood replaced by Yassin Ayari. Straight swap in central midfield. And Joel Veltman is coming on for Simon Adingra. They're going to put Minte on the left wing. Maybe Lamptey will go right wing if they stay with the 4. That's what appears to be happening, unless they play with a 5 with Veltman as a
doesn't look like it, does
centre
it?
back.
Looks like he's gone to right back.
Brighton 2 more changes. Newcastle still with Wilson, Miley and Osula warming up. Gordon closing down Verbruggen, almost pinched it off him and has at least forced the goalkeeper to send it out of play. Trippier with a throw, back to Schär in front of his penalty box. Pope just inside. Tonali to Schär, long ball forwards in behind for Barnes, but Estepinian watched it. Makes the header, finds Ayari, and now Dunk forwards to Baliba, chested down by Trippier, out of Minte. Newcastle throw halfway, 1-0 down. Are they doing the right things to get level?
Yeah, they're pressing the game. Yeah, they're pressing Brighton back. Brighton finding it difficult to get out. Just need that one ball to break, don't they? Just need it to fall.
They've had a lot of possession and been in good attacking positions. Gordon, great ball. Bruno, edge of the area, through towards Isak. Willock coming in. He goes down. What's the referee going to give this time? Penalty for the second time. Craig Pawson has pointed to the penalty spot for Newcastle United. The first was overturned because it was outside the box. This one was definitely in, and it was Bruno's through ball that Isak didn't go for, but Willock coming in. Van Hecke with the challenge. Willock got to the ball first. Did Van Hecke take him down though? VAR will be taking a look. Willock might have been on the way down anyway. Think there was a bit of contact. If this stands, Newcastle do have a penalty, but VAR will have to advise Craig Pawson, and we wait for the final decision.
He'll be sent to look at this.
Well, we are still waiting. Yeah, VAR now showing. Not sure there's much contact. That's the issue. Willock definitely got to the ball before Van Hecke didn't get any of the ball. It's whether he got any of Willock. Bruno and Gordon linked up well.
Told you. He sent them.
Referee is coming to the screen. Eddie Howe looks at the floor and shakes his head. For the second time today, Newcastle might well have a penalty taken away from them. The first one was outside the box. This one, it might just be a lack of contact. Did he even touch Willock? It's not a dive. He's got to the ball. The challenge has come in. I think that'll be overturned. If there is contact, it's probably minimal. What do you think, Ando, having seen it a couple of times?
It's a tough one, isn't it? It's down to individual interpretation.
Craig Pawson, his hands on his knees, leans over, looks at the screen, still talking to VAR Andy Madley. Here we go, VAR.
Oh, he's getting the yellow card.
Oh, Joe Willock is going to be booked for diving. He cannot believe it. He puts his hands on his head. Well, he got to the ball first and the challenge came in.
Yeah, but if he didn't touch him, he must have dived.
Well,
he's no other excuse.
He's moving at speed and he's seeing that the contact is from Van Hecke there.
Oh, he doesn't go anywhere near him.
Yeah, is there any contact shin on shin as Willock is falling?
There's nothing there at all. Just throws himself.
The second time this afternoon Craig Pawson has given Newcastle a penalty, and the second time this afternoon that the VAR Andy Madley has either advised or has simply overturned it, but neither have stood. Nick Pope's down now and Callum Wilson's about to be brought on. It's BBC Radio Newcastle and BBC Sounds. Newcastle's physio. Newcastle's physio
for 20 minutes.
The physio's about to come on because the referee has called him over. But what Eddie Howe is doing is getting everybody else, the outfield players, to come across. So it's clearly one of those
test the dark arts again because he hasn't seen the ball for 20 minutes.
The physio hasn't seen the referee's call. Wilson's got to come on. Don't know who for just yet. Eddie Howe's got all of his players together, the outfield boys, in a huddle. One of them will be going off. I mean, if they'd had two penalties, they could have been 2-1 in front. Neither ended up being penalties. They've had a lot of the ball, they've been in good positions, but they still haven't found an equaliser, Endo.
No. I mean, I thought the first one was a penalty, but it was outside. The second one, you can see he doesn't touch him.
Joe Willock replaced by Callum Wilson. It'll be another frustrating day for Willock, chosen again ahead of Lewis Miley and Sean Longstaff for midfield. He's had a couple of good moments, couple of big moments, like the shot that he had in the first half outside of the right boot that flew just over the bar. Then that penalty incident. Nick Pope receiving treatment.
For what? What's he? Has he got frostbite?
Looks like he's getting a massage on his thigh.
He's all right. He's okay.
Outfield players have to go off if they receive treatment.
Do you believe that he's okay? Do you believe he's okay?
I sincerely hope so. But goalkeepers don't. Obviously, you can't then play for 30 seconds without a goalkeeper. They've made two changes, Newcastle, but they're still 1-0 down.
Even the physio's laughing, walking up.
Just seen a picture of Jason Tindall, the assistant manager, watching from the stands. It's a Brighton free kick. Because things hadn't restarted since the penalty overturn from VAR. They've had some bad days here. This has been not a particularly bad performance. Parts of it have been pretty good. However, throw for Brighton at left back after Newcastle sent the ball forwards again. They just haven't been able to score. Fell behind to what we later realised, having seen replays, was a deflected goal from Minte.
Yeah, and then big deflection off Dan Bourne's head, wasn't it?
And they've had the frustration of those 2 VAR calls, but both ended up being the correct decision. It's just frustrating when you think you're getting a penalty and then you don't get one. Here's Isak. Now it looks like Isak's come in to play behind Wilson in a number 10 role with Bruno and Tonali as a 2, like a 4-2-3-1. That's how I'm reading it in a minute.
Gone like for like with Brighton, haven't they?
Trippier with a throw all the way back to Cher from inside the Brighton half. Then Trippier again gives it to Cher once more. First time pass. Cher then takes a touch. Nick Pope's out of his box and to the left of Fabian Cher. Goalkeeper Pope receives it. Burn on the touchline. Long ball forwards. Wilson backing in and backing into Van Hecke in an illegal manner. And a free kick for Brighton.
Just cleaned them out, didn't he?
And here on BBC Radio Newcastle, Simon Logan's 80s versus 90s will follow at 4. Normally on between 2 and 6. But live commentary, Brighton 1, Newcastle 0. And then Simon Logan on from 4 o'clock this afternoon. Van Hecke, long ball behind Newcastle goal kick. Didn't give his teammates a chance with that one. 13 minutes of normal time remaining in a crucial match. Draw keeps them in 4th, assuming Chelsea don't beat Liverpool or win by only a single goal margin. If a bigger Chelsea win, then they'll be down to 5th, and Forest 2 points behind. They're in 6th. They play tomorrow away to Crystal Palace. So having started the weekend's games 3rd, they could finish them 6th, Newcastle. But it's still in their hands in terms of this game and then what follows. But they really need to get something out of it. They need to turn it around. Brighton go back to the goalkeeper. Haven't gone for them particularly today, but it's only 1-0. Minte now to Estepinian. A Brighton attack. Minte on the left wing, low cross. O'Reilly back to goal, trying to turn. Oh, it's eventually a cross shot that Dan Burn takes a touch on and then scoops clear to halfway. Dunk inside, Belieber. It's a foul by Bruno. Next to the centre circle, middle of the pitch. They've got Wilson up top, Isak playing just off him. He had one run, Isak, on the left, got cut inside, played the ball across. We've seen little else from him, haven't we, today?
Yeah, he's been quiet, hasn't he?
Header from Trippier, Estepinian on, Welbeck, then Minte breaks into the area, Yankuba Minte, Pope with a save with his knees at the near post. They haven't got it clear, Tonali down under a challenge, Brighton still hacking away at it. Referee gives, what's he given?
Goal kick.
Goal kick. Well, I thought Tonali was fouled. Oh, is that O'Reilly in the box complaining, thinking maybe he should have had it. Firstly, Pope saved from Minte. Lamptey down towards Estepinian, and then Tonali collided with O'Reilly. Newcastle, I think, are going to be allowed to restart the match.
Of course they are.
Oh, hang on, the referee's looking at Nick Pope.
Of course they are. There's nothing
and
like
says
that.
Get on with the game. No VAR check.
Honestly.
Beyond a quick look at it. I mean, that would have just rubbed salt into the wound, wouldn't it, after 2 penalties overturned correctly, though, for Brighton to get one from VAR. Trippier up to Bruno, near side, up the line, good ball, Barnes, Wilson on the move in the middle, Isak hanging back, Gordon left side, Barnes to Isak just outside the penalty area, plays it on to Anthony Gordon on the 18-yard line, Gordon over the top. Oh, that's such a disappointment, having worked it well and got into a good position.
Doesn't do that as well as Barnes. when he drifts off that left side. Barnes whips it. It's just skied it way up in the air over the top.
It's the 16th Premier League meeting with Brighton. Newcastle have won 2 of the previous 15, home and away. Scored just 10 times. One of them was a 4-1 victory. It's not a good fixture wherever it's played, and they've got 9 minutes of normal time in fact to save this one. Brighton playing it out from the back, and Van Hecke so cool on the ball, comfortable, does really well, and Veltman galloping forwards up the right hand side. Minte in the middle, ball deflects into his path, and then he gets the better of Cher, and then a recovery challenge from Cher. Trippier hammers the ball against Minte's shins. Newcastle throw on this near side, about in line with their penalty box. Trippier in the wrong position, has to get back, throws it to Cher, who takes a touch, gives it straight back to Trippier, inside to Tonali, under pressure immediately, back to Cher on the goal line, and it goes long. Wilson looking for it, Dunk behind him, Dunk heads it onto Wilson, Brighton forward, straight to Bruno, Livramento onto Isak. Here they go, Barnes through the middle, Isak to the left to Gordon. They've got 5 in this attack, now 6, Livramento joining in. Gordon tries the cross, it's blocked by the boot of the defender. Lamptey's header straight to Gordon, who nods it on, looking for Barnes. Brighton get it away, Ayari with the header. Newcastle have got them penned in now. 8 minutes to play, 1-0 down. Livramento high up on the left, overhit ball from Livramento for Gordon, and that's unlike him. Osula and Botman sent along the touchline by Eddie Howe. Could make further changes. Starting to slip away from them.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't created a great deal for all the ball that we've had. I know we've had the 2 penalties overruled, but the keeper's never been called upon to make a real save in the game.
Fabian Cher comes and wins a good header. Brighton nod it forwards. Dan Burn stooping, heads it back to Nick Pope. 7 minutes of normal time to play on BBC Radio Newcastle. Brighton lead 1-0. Isak on halfway, left side. He's playing off Wilson, but might have a free roll, and that just could allow him to pick up space where he wouldn't normally be. Cher with that diagonal switch. Livramento, good take. 25 yards out. Isak gets it from him. Fronts up the defender. Starts to take on his man. Back to Gordon, then Isak again. Stayed onside. Rolls it back to Tonali, 30 yards out. Trippier makes a run into the box. They've given it to Cher. Disguised pass. Cher towards Barnes, down at the edge of the area. Free kick for Newcastle in the D, just to the left of centre. Great position. And Barnes won it after spinning and getting away from his man. Found by Fabian Cher. Van Hecke took him down.
Yeah, no complaints about that one. Great bit of skill, wasn't it? Just drag back.
Now who takes it? Trippier, Cher, Isak. They're all near the ball. Barnes is around it. Tonali's gone into the box. Brighton will put a big wall, and they're a big side with 6'4" Dunk. Van Hecke 6'2". O'Reilly, a big lad as well. He's
Cher stood over
middle,
but Trippier's there.
Would appear to be Cher or Trippier from the way the players have arranged themselves. Who do you fancy? Barnes has just pulled out to the right of the main group in the middle. The Brighton wall, then some other Newcastle players. Minte's gone to stand next to him. Barnes moves in, so that one appears to be off. Livramento's round the back. Bruno is square to the ball. Trippier pulls his socks up, he's next to it. Fabian Cher just to his left. So as Trippier walks away, this would appear to be Fabian Cher's free kick. Huge moment. Cher into the wall. Oh, they say handball. They get it. Penalty. The the referee's given them a penalty for the third time. Brighton cannot believe it. Craig Pawson, the referee. Newcastle players appealed immediately as Cher hit it into the wall. It's clear.
Oh yeah.
It's a clear handball.
Yeah.
It's a clear handball. Well, the notes just blow away. And then it was a good save, but a clear handball. And this one surely is not going to get overturned.
No, this won't get overturned.
Now, who was
You just wonder what the boy was doing.
VAR is talking to the referee again. I wonder if this has ever happened 3 times in a game where it's been overturned.
It was a Yari, wasn't it? His handball, the 26.
Down by, it was out away from his body and it hit the hand rather than the arm. Well, VAR is looking, but is it at an offside maybe? But no handball. They're checking handball, not an offside. Yeah, his arm is out.
It's a handball.
Well, we still wait. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous for it to be a third time in the game. I can't remember them ever being given 3 penalties in one match. I know 2's happened before, but they've been given 3 in the same half. The first 2 were overturned correctly, but this one surely. It's hit Ayari on the hand from the angle that we've seen. Now they're looking at a different angle, which is it's a slightly blurry image. It's not as clear. Well, we just wait for the decision. Brighton 1, Newcastle 0. We're now in the 88th minute. Cher's free kick. It hit the hand of Ayari. The players for Newcastle knew straight away and appealed. Craig Pawson, the referee, good position, gave the penalty. They're still looking at handball, nothing else. They're still looking. It makes you feel like they're looking for reasons to overturn the decision.
No, because they just do it all the time.
Penalty.
It takes forever. It's ridiculous the amount of time that it takes.
Finally, a penalty, and at the third time of asking in the second half, the penalty that was awarded stands for Newcastle and is about to be taken. Kieran Trippier pushing Brighton players out of the way. Yasin Ayari, who conceded the penalty. Callum Wilson's on the field, but it's Alexander Isak's ball. It's Alexander Isak's penalty kick, and it is huge. 1-0 down for most of the match. Big decisions in the second half going against them. This one has gone their way, and Alexander Isak up against Bart Verbruggen to bring Newcastle level. Isak scores! Sends the keeper the wrong way. He went low down to Verbruggen's right, and the away end celebrates behind the goal as there's now a scrap in the net because Newcastle want the ball back quickly and Verbruggen wouldn't release it, but they can celebrate a late equaliser, a monumental goal from Isak in a game that they really need something from in this Champions League chase. Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Newcastle United 1.
Kept us cool really well, didn't he? Waited for the keeper to go and just took the other side. Still enough time. There'll be plenty of added on time because it's taken forever over these penalty decisions.
I don't know how you can look at that from the angle we've just seen again, behind Cher, behind the ball, and have any doubt that that's a handball. And why would it take 2 or 3 minutes?
Because it always does.
But if it's clear from one angle, why is it not? Why do you need to look at 4 or 5 others?
How many times have we seen where it's always been clear and they still don't do it?
They're on the attack here. Bruno Barnes trying to run in behind and gets there before Estepinian. Wilson back post. Barnes still got it. Harvey Barnes in the Brighton box, crosses it straight at Dunk's chest, and it's cleared. Wilson was waiting for the ball into the middle. Now Minte, Bruno and Trippier challenging for it. Minte's come away with it. Welbeck plays it back to Ayari. 9 minutes added, a minimum of 9 minutes as Nick Pope puts it out for a throw. We're into the first of those 9 minutes. Isak's 27th of the season, 23rd in the Premier League. Brighton take the throw. Cher stabs it away. Ayari back to Dunk. Van Hecke now for Dunk again, left side in the Newcastle half. Heavy touch there from O'Reilly. Bruno wins the ball and clears. Wilson's chest down to Isak. Can they go away? Left hand side. Anthony Gordon in the Brighton half from Isak's pass. They're looking to win it, Newcastle. Looking to come from behind. Tonali slows down. Brighton get players into good defensive positions. Newcastle keep the ball. Back to Burn. Fabian Schär waving Kieran Trippier up the pitch. Plays it square to him. Barnes facing his own goal. Back to Trippier, inside. Back to Schär, just inside Newcastle half. Goes to the goalkeeper. Nothing risky. Brighton are going to make another substitution and bring on midfielder Diego Gomez shortly. Here's Anthony Gordon taking on Joel Veltman. Goes on the outside. Gordon brought down, free kick. 25 yards out, right on the left touchline. Forwards goes Dan Burn, licking his lips, I'm sure. Want to get on the end of this, needs to be a good ball in. Double change for Brighton. Brian Gruder also about to come on. 1-1, Isak's penalty, the third that Newcastle were given today. They've taken the free kick quickly. Isak scoops it into the 6-yard box. Brighton half a clearance. Burn wins it back. Estepinian then clears as far as Schär. Fabian Schär with a cross, looking for Wilson, and chested back by Veltman.
What was Dunk doing?
To his goalkeeper.
How lucky did he get?
Well, this is tense. Good win by Fabian Schär on Welbeck on halfway. Bruno towards Tonali, they've lost it. Bruno's pass was misplaced, and now Brighton trying to break on Newcastle. They've got a throw. Well, in the Championship, when they won 2-1 here in a crucial game, they scored twice in the final 10 minutes. Today they've got one to level it up. And if they can repeat the feat from 8 years ago and turn it around to win 2-1, it will be up there with the most important results this season. The changes for Brighton: Matt O'Reilly off, Yankuba Minte off, Diego Gomez and Brian Gruder on. Two of Brighton's newer players signed within the last year, both midfielders. Back to the goalkeeper, Callum Wilson up front. It's a year to the day since his last Premier League goal, which came in the win at Burnley. I wonder if he could be the man to do it for them, but they're going to have to defend a free kick here because Harvey Barnes has been penalised for pulling it. Pervis Estepinian out on the Brighton left, and everybody's got to get back. 9 minutes added, 1-1 in the 94th minute.
It's been a really strange game. Referee, big talking point again today. He's given 3 penalties, he's taken 2 of them away.
Here comes the free kick. Ayari and Gruder, and it's the substitute. Good one. Brighton head it just wide.
Oh, how did he miss?
That is a massive chance. It's the other substitute, one to the other. Gruder's free kick, left-footed curler into the box. Diego Gomez heads it wide from 6 or 7 yards.
Headed it a mile wide as well.
It's not even close.
No.
Newcastle will go to 63 points if this stays as a draw. Chelsea 3 points behind, playing at 4:30 at home to champions Liverpool. So the draw could keep them ahead of Chelsea on goal difference even if they win. Forest 3 points behind, play tomorrow. Sven Botman and Emil Kraft are coming on. Oh, they might be in. Harvey Barnes attacking the goal. Callum Wilson. Here's Wilson. Oh, what a save! What a save, Verbruggen. Wilson put his boot behind the ball, and Verbruggen one-handed save, top of the goal, to claw it over.
Good hit, wasn't it? Fortunately, it was straight at the goalkeeper. got a strong right hand up.
It's a massive save, but they have a corner. Bruno about to take it. The 96th minute. Right-footed outswinger from Bruno. It's a Brighton header, and the referee spotted a foul, so it's a free kick for the home team. Sven Botman and Emil Kraft are coming on for Fabian Schär and Trippier also coming off. Late changes from Eddie Howe. That could have been their moment to win it, but there's still 3 minutes remaining. 1-1.
Good hit. Decent height as well, though, wasn't it? Goalkeeper just got a strong hand.
He's had to leap and push it over. Wilson could have won it for them. Exactly 12 months since his last Premier League goal. Botman heads away once and then twice from the edge of the penalty area. Ayari back in. Welbeck brings it down. And Gruder for Brighton. Now Diego Gomez. It's deflected away off Bruno. Baliba back to Van Hecke. Just over 2 minutes remaining. Header on there by Estupinian. It's a goal kick. He's hurt himself colliding with Emil Kraft. Brighton may need to give treatment to the left back. No, he's going to be all right. 1-1. BBC Radio Newcastle and the BBC Sounds app. Tomorrow, it's Bank Holiday Monday, but Total Sport will be on between 6 and 8 as normal to go over the weekend's games. And we'd love to hear from you. You can phone in tomorrow from 6. Have reaction from Eddie Howe to this match, which is not over. There's still a minute and a half. 9 were added. 1-1. Wilson tries to head on, away by Van Hecke, forwards for Newcastle. Wilson then into a challenge, no foul. Brighton wants a free kick. Here go United with Bruno and Tonali. Barnes could be played in. Tonali's ball. Barnes on the chase. Flag's gone up. Flag's gone up against Barnes on the near side. An incredible game in London, which is full time. Brentford 4, Manchester United 3. It was 4-2 though before Man United got a late one back. But that was a topsy-turvy match. The other game, 1-1 between West Ham and Spurs. 1-1 here. Final minute. Definitely don't lose, even if you can't win. Van Hecke heading it back to his goalkeeper. After Dan Burn sent it forwards. Verbruggen on the floor. That goes long. Burn and Gruder. Burn volleys it clear. Veltman header into midfield. Tonali goes backwards. Lamptey trying to get around Livramento. Great challenge. Superb from Livramento. Botman away. Only as far as Ayari. Now Lamptey. Low cross. Stopped by Tonali. Livramento up the pitch towards Gordon. And Newcastle can't quite make anything of it. Brighton going forwards. The 9 minutes have been played. 1-1. Lamptey on the outside. Cross blocked. You'll get another try. It's out on the far touchline. Plays a little through ball. Tonali gets in between man and ball and wins a free kick. Important defending late on from Sandro Tonali. That might be it, unless the referee's in a charitable mood and wants to let them play on. It's a late penalty from Isak that has surely prevented defeat, and it could still be a very important point as the away fans sing away to our right and acknowledge a result that takes them a little bit closer to the Champions League.